All the bears are dead now. It kind of feels like that today. I'm loving it. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. I'm going to try and do a lot today. So I fixed the audio. I've got better video quality. I've got 2 ticker symbols up today. You can see them down here. We're going to be going over Apple earnings. We're also going to try and get Coinbase. Apple is about 30 minutes before Coinbase. We're going to watch both of these tickers and see if they explode. MSTR is on fire. Yeah, they had the conference today. They're going to have it, I believe, tomorrow too, and that should be the really big announcement. So that's probably only going to get better. If we're looking at the heat map, we're seeing a pretty green day all in all. You can see the chip sector did really good. Apple's doing well up until earnings. We'll see if that lasts. I think China could hurt them more than people realize. Amazon's strong, and again, just really good market breadth today. Tesla flat on the day. That's okay. You got to remember this thing soared. So it's all looking pretty interesting. Again, I've got earnings pulled up. I got it muted, ready to go. I got the financials pulled up. We got everything, okay? We're all set for that stuff. And we're going to check here. Let me know if any of the tickers start to pop and if data's been released. I made about 65, 70 today. Shitcoins did really well, especially shitcoins. Yeah, I think this is up like 10 or something just on this account alone, maybe 12. And so big winners today, MicroStrategy, obviously, with almost a double-digit gain. That conference is treating them really well. People are getting excited. Cypher is up 5.7. CleanSpark was only 1.72. Mara was up 6. That's all good. Hood was up 5% today. Again, I think that same thing with Coin. Coin is just rocketing. What is it, up 10% right now? So that's been sitting good too. The real drags on my portfolio today were PayPal and SoFi. So these are the ones that have really gotten hit this last week. Hopefully we can get a good bounce in Bitcoin, since I was buying a lot of that, and Tesla. And then I'll be able to step into the 2026s on both of these positions in leaps. That would get me really excited. All right, but no buying or no selling today. Didn't really dick around with things at all. Oh, I do want to show you something else, though, real quick, the crypto map. So I just wanted to point out that Ethereum, 0.73, Bitcoin, double that, Solana, about 70% on top of what Bitcoin's doing. So Solana continuing to be an outperformer and doing better. I think people are losing a little bit of faith in Ethereum again. Happens on and off. All right, let's look at the SPY. The S&P today, where did we close? We're up 0.78% on the day. This is good. We want to get above the 100. It still looks like it could be a bear flag. So you're going to hear bears coming out with that shit tomorrow, no doubt. NASDAQ. NASDAQ, actually, it looks a little better because it already broke through the 100 moving average, and then it was able to establish support, and it's got peak volumes. So as far as a better looking chart, this is it. Already dropped 8%, and now we're only down a total of 5 from the recent peak. So the NASDAQ looks a little nicer visually as far as a technical pattern, and it was up 1.22, so it definitely outperformed the SPY today. Let's check the Russell and look at our small caps. Again, I said this before, it's just such a clean bounce off the 200 weekly moving average on the Russell, and it outperformed the NASDAQ and the S&P today. This is exactly what we want to look at. So the charts just get more bullish, right? S&P, NASDAQ better, Russell even better than that. We've got the dollar going down today. Now, I absolutely love this, and you know why I love this? Because of Jerome Powell. Not just him, honorable mention to Janet Yellen. I think it's very important for you guys to realize that he said that he didn't see any stagflation yesterday. He said that he was okay with wage inflation because we could actually use a little bit to get caught up, paraphrasing. And then at the same time, I love this picture. You can see how Janet and Jerome were able to find a symbiotic relationship in their actions yesterday. So you got Janet not only not increasing the amount of bonds being issued, but doing a buyback that was the greatest since, the last 20 years, right? 22 years. And then you've got the Fed over here saying, you know what, we need to slow our roll. We're not gonna unload our balance sheet as aggressively as we have been doing. So you've got essentially the bond market being saved, and then the Fed kind of de facto, I should say, not taking away liquidity, which helps with liquidity, right? And then you have China doing a lot of stuff too, and then you also have the Japanese yen, where they printed a bunch of money to be able to help the bond market. So you've got, I said this was going to happen, right? I said the Japanese yen wasn't going to break because it was in our nature not to allow it. I said that the Fed and the Treasury were going to be gentle, and I think they were about as fucking gentle as you can get outside of whatever Janet's doing to Jerome in this picture. Anyway, where was I at? I digress. Let me get back on topic here. Oh, yeah. We did the dollar. Let's move on to gold. Gold, my favorite commodity to shit on. All right, so they were up what? You guys, the gold bugs, they were up, what was that? Almost 27% over 13 years. Now they're only up 20%. Ugh, dare I say that drop into the 19s? I think so. Sorry, guys. Oil, I said a while ago, I made this pretty little line, said left shoulder, head, right shoulder. I also said it was bearish, that this broke above this trend and then had a descending triangle down. It made its measured move, and then again, we bear flagged. Now we're completing this move. We're going to get at least, I'd say, 77s. And maybe we find a bottom there. We will be oversold on the daily time frame. So that would be a decent place to find a bottom. So I think that's very likely. But again, I would just argue that this is not nearly as bad as everybody made it out to be. Isn't it funny how that works? All right, the move index. Nope, stuff's breaking. All right, move index. Nope, not move index. That was Tesla. Move index. Again, very happy to see this. You can't see it from earlier today. It actually shows flat, but it actually did go down in the day. I believe, yeah, it was pretty strong actually. So the day has rolled over, but we had a steep drop in the move index. This is the volatility index for bonds. We want this to go down. When it goes down, stocks go up. Just remember that. All right, two-year bond. This is the one everybody's like, it's above 5%. The sky's falling. And now it's down 1.6% right now. And at 4.88, you're probably going to see more of that. And again, I talked about the Japanese yen. Oh, my number isn't refreshing. Let me fix something real quick here, just while I'm thinking about it. I think I need to click a little button. And then, there we go. Fixed. Viewers, I'm getting so good at this. I'm practically a professional. Hey, can you guys hit the like? I think Gartov33 had a great idea. Hit the like. It's called courtesy. All right. Anyway, Japanese yen, like I said, no disaster here. We saw the abyss. We stared into it. We moved on from it. Chinese yuan. We are actually still beating that one up just a little bit, or I should say it's not getting better. But the Chinese government, the CCP, is pumping liquidity, so things might look better in the future. Ruble. The Russian ruble, it actually got a little bit of relief. They're happy. Put-call ratio, not a lot of puts. Oh, wait. Ooh, never mind. I guess they're coming back. Get ready for it. I don't think they should do that. I'm just throwing it out there. But you guys do you, okay? All right, so we got Coinbase. If you look down there, we got Coinbase looking pretty good. Up 3% after hours. You got to remember, this thing ran up 3% on the day, right? Oh, now it's coming down. Let's see what happens. Is this going to be... Oh, now it's going up. All right, they're going to figure out what's going on, guys. They're figuring it out. I'm going to say it's up. Nope, I'm going to say it's down. I'm going to say it's a celebration. No, it looks like rain clouds. So we'll pull that up in a second. We'll see what Coinbase is looking like. I'll let some other people type it up. I'm too lazy for that shit. All right. But while people are figuring out what's happening with Coinbase, let me move on. So I got something from Tom Lee here. I don't know that I'll play the whole thing. It basically just says, Tom says, hey, if Trump does get elected, and there might be some people thinking about this now, his odds of getting elected are just way higher. And again, I didn't even vote for him last presidency or last presidential election, so it's not like I'm biased for Trump. But I'm pretty non-political nowadays. I hate politics, but I think he's going to win. That's what everything's pointing towards. It's a long time before the election, but if that happened, I would say lower taxes, no threat of capital gains taxes, and I would say that we would see lower energy prices because that man's going to pump. So those are actually all really good things for the market. Again, I've got no horse in the race, just telling you what I'm seeing. All right, Seth Golden. I hate politics, dude. Yes, disease Kodak. It just sucks. Love the new animation stuff. That is Mac stuff, and I'm going to be playing around with that a lot, I think. And we'll get back to Coinbase here in a second. I mean, it ran 9% beforehand, guys. If it just sits here flat, that's not horrible. But yeah, Seth Golden posted it earlier. He said, historically, sell in May is a bad idea. And hey, additional information, sell in May is a really fucking bad idea during an election year and during a Bitcoin halving. Ooh, seeing more rain clouds in Coinbase's future. I'm going to have to let me just move it here so we can get the full line drop. We don't want to have it fall off our screen. Anyway, so yeah, bad idea to sell in May, actually. Most likely right now, based upon historical, and especially with, I believe, liquidity picking up in the second half. And I might do a separate video on that, or maybe I'll talk about it in my next one. Anyway, an initial investment of $100,000 held for the entire period from 1980 to 2018 would have grown to nearly 6.5 million. But if you followed a SIM strategy, you would end up with slightly less than 1.8 million. So what he was saying is, if you did the sell in May, the SIM strategy, would have fucked you. So maybe not a great idea. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right. Let's see. I think that's it for the U.S. economy stuff. Now, real quickly, let's just go into this, right? We'll look at the actual data from today and go over that. And I'll try and keep up with Coinbase. Jacques Kingdom, thank you, my friend. I'm just going to let you do this from now on if you want to. If you want to take the helm. He said, just out, Coinbase Q1 revenues, 1.64 billion, estimated 1.32 billion. EPS Q1 440, estimate 107. So a very strong beat, right? Don't know what guidance looks like. This thing ran up 10% into market, and now we're going higher again. You got it? All right, sweet, dude. It's yours, bro. Thank you very much, sir. All right, so real quickly, let's just go through the list here. Challenger job cuts. I don't know. Were they very challenging? I don't think so. They weren't that high. Guidance was for 91. Previous was 90,000. We got 64. So it doesn't look like there were a lot of people getting cut from jobs. Balance of trade. I actually kind of like this one. It's very interesting. It's interesting to me because really, when we were very dependent upon China, you can see this wicked drop. The balance of trade really sucked from the pandemic on, right? And then it got better. We bounced back. And now we're actually still sitting pretty good, close to levels that we were in 2006. So I would actually argue that our trade imbalance is not as bad as it could be. And I think it's starting to go in the right directions. If there's anything Trump and Biden were actually able to do right, the two of them, I've given them both credit for this. It's starting to fend off China. Trump started it. I sure as fuck wouldn't have expected Biden to continue it, especially with the narrative from Republicans about him being like in bed with the Chinese. But he's been the exact fucking opposite of that. So don't believe narratives on the left or right. Sometimes presidents can do things that are okay. And I think they've held our balance of trade to sustainable levels where we didn't become extremely dependent upon China. And now we're pushing away from it. So I like that. Exports didn't change too much. Imports didn't change too much. Pretty much in line. If you look here, they're good levels. They're near record levels, right? So we like it when we're exporting more dollars. We're not at record levels, but we're darn close. Can't hate it. Initial jobless claims, in line, doesn't really matter. Non-farm productivity, actually a little bit weaker than we would have thought, which isn't great. We were forecasting 1%, consensus was 0.8, productivity was 0.3. This actually makes the job market look weaker, arguably, but these are month-over-month numbers. So, Oh, I'm sorry, quarter over quarter numbers. So we know there's probably some weakness beginning in the initial part of the year. Also, too, labor costs are quarter over quarter, and we know again Q1, Q2 are worse than Q3 based upon all the other metrics that we've looked at that are quarter over quarter. So even though these came in worse than expected, I'm not too focused on them like you shouldn't be. Continuing jobless claims, very much in line. Jobless claims 4-week average. I mean, whether it's getting faked or not, it looks beautiful. You got to love it. Factory orders month over month, 1.6%. Consensus was 1.6. Forecast was 1.8. That's good, right? X transportation. So if we're not including transportation, was perfectly in line at 0.5. Let's see. Is there anything else here? New York Fed Treasury tips 1 to 7.5 years, 30 minutes. I don't know if I don't care about any of this. And it looks like did we get total car sales? Did we? No. Okay. Pushing it out. Whatever. Doesn't matter. So that's it for the macro data. So again, I think the big narrative from a macro perspective, guys, and thank you to the 420 people that are here. That's cool on multiple levels. If you could hit the like, I would greatly appreciate it. But I think the macro take is the Fed was incredibly conducive to a sense of easing. Hey, Coinbase is down again. What the fuck? You guys figure out your shit. But was conducive to easing, and that is a positive thing for markets. They were very dovish. They could have been much more hawkish. They weren't hawkish. He said there was no stagflation. He said he's not worried about wages. He said everything looks good and that the most likely thing to happen is a rate cut. So here's the great thing is today we're at 36 fear, and I'm not feeling that fearful today. Love it. More room to run. All right, CME Fed Watch tool. I told you guys that thought we were going to start getting in a better place, and we are, right? Like we're like a 1 to 1.9 ratio now of cutting in July. July is getting more possible. Can you imagine people moving all their targets from September to July? I can. I think that's probably what's going to happen. And again, from all the stuff that we looked at, I would say that Jerome Powell is probably spending more time on trueflation than he is in the economic data, because he seems to, the way he talked, he seems to very much believe that we're not that far away from our 2% goal, or that he should at least not give a shit. I don't know. Maybe it's because of all the high interest on our debt. Maybe that's it, guys. Maybe it's the exact same thing I've been talking about. Coinbase was to sell the news. I don't blame him. It's went up so much. Anyway, I want to jump into the Tesla segment of this. Yeah, I do. So we're going to pull up Tesla's chart. And again, we'll get to Coinbase. We've got the earnings call for Apple, and that's happening in about 47 minutes. I'm going to get through all my shit. I'll get through Tesla. I'll get through a couple of other companies. I'll get through all my charts. I'll start looking at your guys'. I should get a few into those. And then we'll hop on the Apple earnings call. We'll stick around for at least a half an hour. That's when Coinbase's earnings call comes on. We might hit that one up. I'll give you guys the vote, okay? That's how we're rocking and rolling today. And then after that's done, if I still got energy, and I feel like I got energy, then we'll end up looking at more stocks at your guys' request. That's how it works. And let me fix my little chart. I don't know why. TradeView, can you fix this shit? I don't have any other fucking windows open. Come on, bro. All right, Tesla. Still not really filling the gap. I mean, it filled more of it. I shouldn't say that. I'm lying. Ignore what I just said. Let me retract it. So we actually filled a lot of it, and I cannot hate that at all. So Tesla dropped hard, filled the majority of its gap, and now has very little left. Found support on the 50 moving average. That's probably a great place to find it. If we see markets turning higher, like these are the kind of gaps you want to leave. One down at the very ass end of it, and then a little tiny one that got mostly filled. It shows that there was a rebalancing and an oscillation that occurred. And so this is good. So let's see if this continues. And again, let me get back over here and start looking at Tessie. All right, so we got a couple of tweets. X, what do we call them now? Posts. A couple of posts. Not tweets. We don't tweet on X. About Tesla that I wanted to go over, okay? So this one says, from the son of the walkie. I love how he always has this little mask. He always puts this in with his post. I think that's great. You can always tell him apart from the rest. And he's got good ones. But he says, Elon Musk likes tweet about Tesla also having to reorganize and do layoffs similar to what occurred in 2018. And I've got thoughts on that. As you know, I always do, right? Thank you, 471 people that have all hit the like button. I appreciate you guys. You're kind. It makes this all worthwhile. But I agree with this, and I think that we're doing a massive reorg. To all you people that are bitching and moaning, this isn't the right place. To all you people that are bitching and moaning, let me fix this real quick here. I want to go back. I don't think, oh, 1 second. I'll fix that in a second. I just gotta get my bookmark up. Bear with me. I did really good up until this part. Oh, you know what? I think I know I did that. We're going to have to look at the bookmarks this way because they're not... Because this fucking X likes to reorg my bookmarks and do stupid shit with them. So it is what it is. So we're going to go through these one at a time. It's just how we'll have to. And I'll have to have them jumbled up with other stuff because it's just bullshit. Anyway, Elon, if you could fix that, I stick up for you all the time. Fix this shit. Don't reorg the bookmarks, or at least give me the ability to sort them by date. Thank you. All right. So anyway, I'm going to move on. I'm going to reorganize my thoughts. I'm doing my part by using FSD every day, and it's true, and I think a lot of people are starting to do this, and I know a ton of people that have signed up for the subscription service that I never would have guessed would have. So we'll see how long they stick around, but FSD in China, FSD in Korea, FSD in Europe, FSD in the Americas, you guys just aren't paying attention. Margins are going to explode, and if you don't believe me, we're going to listen to Tasha, whose glasses get bigger every time she realizes how large the margins are going to be. So we're going to go back and listen.
Okay, so assuming that a Model 3 today cost about $40,000, Tesla's getting single-digit thousands in operating profit off of that vehicle from a one-time sale. In a robotaxi network, you get a meaningful recurring revenue stream. So that same Model 3, let's say it's going 100,000 miles per year. It's charging customers just $1 per mile. That's a lot cheaper than Uber and Lyft, thanks to a much higher utilization rate on an autonomous taxi. And then you're getting $100,000 in recurring revenue off of that car versus just, the initial $40,000 sale. We also think that this model could actually have more attractive margins, as I said. So, we're talking double-digit thousands in operating profit per car per year versus that one time again. Okay, so assuming that a Model 3 today costs about $40,000.
All right, so evidently I have to figure out one other thing on volume. Sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know that it was too high. Let me fix here. So, did somebody say Square was screaming higher? Cool. All right. Might have to figure out why that is too. It's just hard. There's 3 good earnings calls. There's Apple, there's Coinbase, and there's Square. It's like there's not enough Jessies to go around. But yeah, what Tasha was essentially saying here is that the economies of scale and the margins that are going to be pulled off from full self-driving and how much they can make when there is a ride-hailing network is stupid and insane. And even just the FSD revenues from today are going to make a ton of money. And sorry about the volume. I'll have to adjust some of that to fix it. I'm going to try and crank some things down. I might have to adjust a few things, but I'll get that volume better, so I apologize about that. Weird reverb from Tasha. I had the volume like stupid high. Maybe that was part of it. Let me know if you get volume on this other part here. I'm going to scroll down through a few others, though. We're going to skip all this Bitcoin stuff because I want to stay on topic with the Tesla. And again, I wouldn't be jumping through all this crap if the bookmarks worked better. I'll find a better way to do it. I did want to talk about this, though. So Brett Krieger said earlier, he said, maybe Tesla's slowing down at supercharger stations because they're coming out with a new technology. And I actually agree with this. I don't know if it's not new technology. They bought a company that does wireless charging. And so I think there's 2 things that are happening right now with the Tesla supercharging network. I think they, fired a huge portion of them because they didn't need them, because the network is already so expanded out. People can charge at home. If they need to travel, 95% of travel locations are already like on this network. There are shitty ones that aren't Tesla that you could use too if you needed. But at the same time, what they can do is they can speed up existing infrastructure if they need to, right? They can speed up existing infrastructure just by upgrading the stations. That's great. That's wonderful in and of itself. Ooh, up 10% on Block. Nice. We'll have to check that out. So they can upgrade each individual station and they can increase throughput by like 2 to 3x what it is today. So you're able to cycle through more cars. You don't have to build a whole nother supercharging location. Plus, I think that this concept of wireless charging might be a strategical shift where they've got the existing ones. And maybe if they start doing more build outs, they're going to look at stuff like this because you would need this for at least autonomous robotaxi, right? You wouldn't want to have to worry about the snake charger plugging in thing where you might bend over and then it plugs it in the wrong hole, right? You don't want that. You don't want something that complicated that moves. It just doesn't make any sense. You want these things to be able to pull into locations. And if you're a robo-taxi, you can pull in and wirelessly charge and then take off, especially when you don't have humans behind them, right? So I could see this strategic shift. I think that makes a ton of sense. Also, a little bit of humor, but very true. I said, I think we're going to see Tesla Cybertrucks in every hood across the country, if nothing else, because they're bulletproof. But look at how badass this thing looks right here.
You know that I'm one of the ones. Every picture he posts, he armed and dangerous. When we took his watch, ain't had none of them guns. When I see, look, I'ma give him the bill. Fuck.
Probably not the best wrapping in the world, but the car looks beautiful. And again, I think this is just another demographic that people are not even thinking about when it comes to Tesla. And it's coming. All right, here's a little rant I wanted to get out there about Tesla. I said, yes, and Elon Musk is doing what leaders have to do. This is in regard to having to let go a bunch of people and like Elon being in evil mode and blah, blah, blah. I can't believe he's doing this. He's ruining the spirit of Tesla because people lost their jobs and they might have been hardworking. This is fucking it. This is what it takes to run a business. This is what good leaders who run businesses and don't let them fail do. They look towards tomorrow. They realize when they have to fucking pivot. They realize when there could be risks in front of them. They shift accordingly and they make the decisions that have to be made. I have been somebody who's been laid off before and it sucks, right? Especially if you're incredibly devoted to your job. Like say working 70 hours a week like I was with some of the companies that I worked at. It fucking sucked to get fired. But you know what? For them, it was the right decision. They did what they had to do. They got rid of somebody who was a very high pay, at least for the job I was doing. And they made the right decision. And they kept their company going. And they allowed it to grow. And they allowed it to help investors more. Elon's more than fucking that. Elon is aggressively pushing society towards a better future, in my opinion. He is going to get us to Mars and have us be multiplanetary. He is delivering 90% of the fucking payload to space. He's made it to where even if China and Russia wanted to wipe us out, they couldn't take out our satellites anymore because we've got over 6,000 of them now in low Earth orbit. And he's giving internet to the entire world. He's making it to where paraplegics are excited about their fucking lives. If you have a problem with the way he's managing the fucking company, leave. Sell all your fucking shares. Shut the fuck up. My 2 cents. Because he knows how to run this fucking company better than you do. So fucking leave. All right, that's over. Sorry about all that. Let's proceed. Peggy had a really good post. I liked it. He said 2026 is looking bomb for Tesla. Semi, mass production, robotaxi rollout, FSD potentially going worldwide, new models going mass scale, Cybertruck becoming the best-selling truck, Optimus working in Tesla factories, energy more than doubling, lower interest rates, stock price probably back to, it's over. It'll be over all-time highs if we're talking about that stuff. So, and then global liquidity will be on its side. There's more. But this was pretty good. So we'll leave it at that. Oh, we got our gangster truck again. Again, just so pretty. So pretty. Like if you're a gangster or something, it looks beautiful. I think with Tesla, that's probably good. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. Let's move on. I got Bitcoin things to talk about next here. Let's actually do that. So I'm going to... And then we'll move on to other things. I just want to get some rants out real quick. A few more rants. All right. Let's get in the Bitcoin camp. All right, so Titan of Crypto. He said, hey, I think we're in this, consolidation range. We got this deviation, and then we're going to blast higher. I think that's probably what's going to happen. From a technical standpoint, I don't see why it wouldn't. All right. Second largest European bank, Walter Bloomberg. Second largest European bank, BNP Paribas, bought BlackRock Bitcoin ETF shares. SEC filing, the second largest bank in Europe buys assets. BNP Paribas has allocated a comparatively minuscule portion of the investment portfolio to IBIT. Nevertheless, this is showing that this stuff is coming. And another one here. It's awesome seeing the former president of PayPal, David Marcus, talking about how Bitcoin is going to be the native currency of AI. This is only a minute and 30 seconds. We're going to listen to it.
Something that requires the friction of converting non-digital money into digital money. So it has to be digitally native. And no one in the world will accept any form of native digital value that's not maximally neutral, right? Because it's like, not like the Europeans are not going to accept an American version of a digital asset or vice versa. And so like, what is the most neutral form of digital native internet money? It's Bitcoin. And so if you make it super efficient, super fast, real time, at the speed of AI transactions, that's basically going to be the native currency of AI. And then, you know, it's kind of this interesting thing where, you know, a few years ago, there was this article that blew my mind that, you know, Google Translate built AIs to do the translation service, which is like, you know, really a mind-boggling service when you think about it, you know, 20 years ago, like a thing that you can talk to and speaks another language. It's pretty remarkable what they did with it, with this level of fidelity. But they figured out that this AI that was actually using unassisted learning, unaided learning, came up with its own language. And it was kind of its own neutral language to basically translate one language to another using its own thing. And so what is it going to be for value between AI agents? Definitely Bitcoin, because that's the neutral language of value on the internet, native.
So I 100% agree with that. And if you own this, if you own Bitcoin in the future, like if you don't sell out, if you've been buying the whole time, God bless you. You made the right decision. And I think down the road, you're going to be partying and celebrating because you made the right choice. So to everybody that owns Bitcoin, just like these guys, right? James from Invest Answered posted about Mr. 100 again. Pretty sure it's a nation state. Some people think it's not. It's a nation state. They've been doing a bunch of buying. They were buying the dip. Yeah, it's not too late. We are at the beginning. I don't even have a good chart right now, but we're at like the fucking beginning of the S curve for everything Tesla's doing and everything Bitcoin. We are at the fucking beginning. So don't think it's too late. Don't let that narrative into your head. Squares up nicely. Sweet. You know what? I'm getting tired of looking at Apple's boring. So we're gonna hop off of Apple real quick on the ticker, and we're gonna leave this a Bitcoin party, at least in regard to this. We still have 32 minutes before their conference call anyway. So let's just pop up Square on the top here. And then we'll move that to a shorter time frame so that we can see it. It's a nice looking ticker, you're right. 8% in after hours after being up 5% on the day. Congratulations to everybody that owns Square. I think I only got like 10 grand worth, but I'm happy about it. Their calls, so should be a nice asymmetric bet. Bet it bodes well for Hood. All right, Riot, also, FASB accounting rules. I don't know why they're not working for Coin. We'll try and listen in that conference call and figure out later. But you can see that Riot also had a nice little pop in their Bitcoin held in USD value today with reported earnings. Nice doubling of their value of their stack in a period of 3 months, 1 quarter. Also, Bitcoin Magazine had breaking. BlackRock says sovereign wealth funds and pension funds and endowments are coming to Bitcoin. This is kind of like just the headline, but again, this is happening. This is happening behind the scenes. And endowments, pension funds, and sovereign wealth funds hold so much money, an insane amount. I'm not going to go through all of this, guys. This is a 54-minute video from Michael Saylor with his latest thesis talking about Bitcoin and why it's so great. It's brilliant. If you've never heard a really good Bitcoin bullish thesis, this is the best hour you could spend of your life. And then I just want to go over this, and then we're off the Bitcoin train and we'll move on. So this is me pointing out yesterday the sheer amount of money. There's a little bit more now under the Binance side, under the shorts. It's a little bit more, but I wanted to point out the sheer amount of money that was going to be liquidated to the upside here. Right now, I think it's even higher than 13.5 billion. It's like getting closer between 15 and 17. And it's just fucking nuts, guys. There's so much. It's a 1 to 10 ratio of money to be made to the upside if Bitcoin goes up versus the downside. And I told you guys this yesterday, that this is a huge sign that we're seeing the bottom. Apple jumped. Cool. Let's see. Did Apple jump? Oh, you're right. 2.58. So we got, you know, tomorrow is going to be a good day, guys. We got Apple jumping, we got Square jumping, and we got Coinbase that was up 9% on the day, down 3.4. All of these are good things. All of them. Here, let's replace Coin for a little bit. We'll put Square. I want to be positive. Up 3%. That's actually shocking. We're definitely listening to that call in 29 minutes. Fascinating. All right, let's move on. We got more stuff to get through real quick. Let's get through. Let's look at what PayPal looks like today. PayPal up 1.27% on the day, still above this next support line. It needs to get up above the fib around the 68-70 range. Up 1.5%, including after hours, though. I can't hate that at all. Robinhood's probably going to be popping in after hours, too. Why would it do that? I don't know. Oh, I guess it isn't yet, but whatever. Who cares? On the 4 hour, we're above the 200 moving average, and Robinhood was up 5.77% today. Beautiful move for Robinhood. Above the fib level, above the 50 on the daily moving average. That is just a solid-ass move. Thank you to the 517 that are here. If you click the like button, I will stop asking. How great is that? Then you just get to hear all the good shit. All right, so SoFi up 1% on the day, 0.29 after. But you know what, though? This is really that previous resistance line so far today turning into support. SoFi, the stock that loves to get punished, been hanging out with the PayPals. Square, I mean, you just saw Square. Let's look at the 4 hour on that. Not ugly. Underneath the 100 moving average right now, up a total of 12.5% on the day. Did hit peak volumes here near 77 at one point. Just sick. Palantir up 2% on the day. Again, like this is really looking like, again, the tweezer bottom. It looked like it might have been taking it back yesterday. I'd say today it said no. I'm still going. ARKG. I still got to add DLO on here. Should do that. ARKG up 1% on the day and 1.2 in after hours. Not hating it. Trying to get above this previous resistance line. If we turn that into support again, this is the monthly time frame. If we can turn that into support where we did it on the daily over here, where we did it over here before we broke down. If we can close the week back above this, man, I think that's good stuff. Flux. What the flux? Up 0.63%. Not a horrible number. Still would love to see it get above the peak volumes here at the 490 range. It really just needs to get above this fib, the 5.65. If it does that, it'll be the first time it's went above that and turned it into support ever. So be happy if we get above that and we start turning it into support. That's where the money's at. All right, let's jump into MicroStrategy real quick. Or Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Let's go back to Bitcoin. All right, Bitcoin. You know, almost perfectly, guys. I'm just going to say this shit, okay? Remember when I drew this box, this channel we had right here? Remember how we got down to the daily right near the oversold conditions, and now we have bullish divergence on the MACD that goes back to, you know, mid-April? But remember how we broke down underneath of this, and I said this is like the key area. We want to get above it. Right now, we're using, basically, we turned this whole box. We overshot it just a little bit, you know, just a little bit. But we've used it as support. If we continue to do that, this is our new range, getting back up into this channel again. That is bullish as fuck, in my opinion. Thank you to the 503 people here. Hit the like, please. Please, please, please support my work. And chat with each other, too. That also supports my work. All right. MicroStrategy up almost 10% on the day, down 0.79 afterwards. This is probably the bottom. You got to realize, guys, don't get greedy. This thing already traveled down over 50%. It lost 50% of its value. Now it's close to fairly valued. It's a little over. It's got a premium. But you got to realize this thing could get a 2 to 3x premium when shit gets really weird. So don't be a hater. Buy MicroStrategy. Like I did yesterday and the day before. Mara. Glad I bought a little bit of this. It's up 6.22%. It's trying to get above the 200 moving average. That's what needs to happen tomorrow. If that happens, that's good stuff. So let's hope it does. CleanSpark. CleanSpark. It bounced. It had a rough day. Got up 1.85%, down 0.63 after hours. It looks all right. You got to remember, though, like I've said before, Mara and some of these others have really been beat up, so they stand a really good chance of getting a nice bounce. Cypher underneath the fib level needs to get above peak volumes and turn it into support around the $4 range. Let's see if it happens. Any chance we can get some 62K BTC tonight? Maybe. Probably more likely by tomorrow. It's already ran pretty hard, so it's got an oscillation, right? What is going on? Is that Apple? What the fuck? Up 4% for Apple. That's a pretty sick move. We're definitely going to have to hop in that call in a minute. And so here's the deal. We're done. Oh, DLO. I can't forget DLO. So we're almost done with my tickers, guys. I think what we're going to do, though, is we're going to hop in and just kind of see what's happened with a few of these companies that have had earnings. I'm going to see if I can get a beat on what's going on with Apple, a beat on what's going on with Coinbase and Square. So we're going to check that. And if you guys have any information, too, throw it in chat. Tell me what's going on. I would appreciate it. Let's pull up DLO. I did pull up the SPY earlier. It looks all right from a technical standpoint, the NASDAQ. And then on top of that, the Russell looks better technically. So DLO, it hit a bottom on peak volumes, and now it looks like it wants to get above this next fib level at 1420. I'd love to see it. I'd really love it if we could turn 1580, the golden retracement zone, into support, because then we're so close to a breakout, and a breakout could get us back up into the 20s, which would be great. That would be a nice move for DLO, and I own a decent amount, so I would appreciate it. All right, let me see here. Let's get our bearings. So I'm going to jump back over. We're going to see. I'm just going to do a quick search here. I'm going to look up a few of these. We're going to look at some Apple and see what people are saying about Apple. Again, I could do all this work myself, but why fucking do that when other people do it for me? That's what I say. And if I could get the AI to do all the work, I would do that. Jesse doesn't recommend crypto-related options. I don't. Just stock. Yes, this is true. Innovex, up 40%. I'll have to check that one out for sure. Give me 1 second here. There's just a lot going on. Apple just reported earnings, EPS of 153, expectations 151, revenue of 90.8 billion, expectations of 90. So they met, and I think people thought it was going to be a rough quarter. We're integrating AI technology. Oh, you know that's coming. Just announced a new $110 share buyback. That's why. That's Apple right there, guys. That's why Apple's going up. Right there. That's the reason. We'll see how the China business was, but that's it. It's the buyback program. That's all of it. Oh, and you know what? This one's better from TrendSpider, so we're going to put this out there. All right. That's it. That's the headline. That was the headline. So I'm going to take down this other one here because that was a better post. All right, so we know why Apple's up. Let's move on. Let's take a look at Square, and then maybe we'll look at Innovex, whatever, in a little bit here. Let's see what's going on with Square. All right, MicroStrategy needs to be a split so Leap options are more affordable. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Zachary Sowinski, MicroStrategy already functions as leverage play to BTC. Yeah, it's a 2x leverage, dude. And I liked my MicroStrategy calls a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, right? I liked them then. In the bear market, they were great to buy. They were stupid fucking cheap. They're not cheap anymore. So don't do it. That's my point. MicroStrategy already functions as time limit on yourself. The premiums are shit. Yes, exactly. Listen to Zach Sowinski, okay? The premiums are shit, and you're potentially causing full loss on something where you don't want time risk right now on Bitcoin related investments. That's my thesis, okay? Block has begun to dollar cost average into Bitcoin for its corporate treasury. Love it. That's probably why Block's up today. That's Square right there in a nutshell, guys. Up 6.37%. Retraced a little bit, but people love the Bitcoin strategy of investing part of your reserves is going to be huge in the future. So you heard it here first a bunch of fucking times. Buy Bitcoin every month with 10% of its gross profits. I love that. It's the Michael Saylor approach, man. This is fucking great. This is great. This is great. Can't believe it. All right, cool, man. All right, so let's look here. So let's get to, so we know what's going on with Apple now. We know what's going on with Block. Let's see what's going on with Coin. Can anybody tell us a Coin-related news? Coinbase earnings, just out. We saw this earlier, so they beat. But why did they, we know they beat. We know they beat. Why are they down? Beating earnings was expected and priced in. Yeah, I agree with that. They were up 9% on the day. The stock, my buddy Income Sharks, if you guys don't follow him, he's a great dude. He's got like 500,000 people, and he talks to me all the time, which he doesn't have to, but he's a good dude. The stock price is forward-looking. It's up 350% from the last year. He's right. It was just priced in. I think that's probably it. That's the post that wins. He's 100% right. And he's using Robinhood to post about it. I love that. Beautiful. All right. Do you have a buy price for Rivian? Yes. No, I don't have one. It's going to zero. So, or it's going to get bought out. So if you did do it like a call option or anything, you would want to be closer to in the money, kind of like the Matterport, the way that worked out. I was too far out of the money, and I should have thought about Matterport being and basically an acquisition target. And so I went too far out of the money. So everybody that followed me on that play that went far out like I did, they only like doubled their money. It sucks, right? Like I got 130% or something in returns. But if I would have done shorter dated calls or just lower in the money ones, if you think something's an acquisition target, keep in the money or do a shorter time frame. I never vote for a longer, shorter time frame because you want the time. Apple is up 6%. I cannot wait for that conference call. That is definitely one we're going to be listening to. Doesn't look like they're up and running yet, but we'll hit that in a second here. But dude, the markets are going to explode tomorrow, guys. I hope you realize that. Everything is good. Everything is good. I feel like I'm a rap video or something. Anyway, everything is good. Everything. Which is good, right? Everything being good. All right, anyway. We had, what was it? Ivanowicz. What was it called? I know you were asking about it earlier. You weren't the first person, but I do feel like that one was doing good, and I should look it up. What's the ticker? Give me a ticker. Oh, ENVX. ENVX. Okay. Let's do that. We're going to look it up here. We're going to look it up from its financials because I need to go through some of those, right? We're going to use visual stocks because that's a great site. Imagine what the stock does, announces a non-deal roadshow, blah, 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 whatever. Bunch of shit. All right. So it just looks like a bunch of pumpers. So let's just pull up visual stocks real quick. I'll borrow visual stocks for coin super fast. And we'll look at this. And we'll see if there's actually a reason. I know there was an announcement. There's a reason for the huge jump. What was it? Can you say it again, Lussie Picker? That name. So here's the thing. Again, I've said this before. I just hate the fact that they don't have consistent revenues. I'm assuming, if I remember correctly from your post, they're going to be. Apple China revenue amounted to $16.37 billion, exceeding expectations. How is that possible when the Huawei phone had a huge surge? I'm definitely interested to see what they did in China. Very interested to see how that came about. The narrative in China, I can tell you, the narrative in China is Apple was decimated because everybody's jumped to Huawei. And I was even seeing that here. So I'm very fascinated. Lussie recently reached a development agreement with a top 5 smartphone OEM by unit vault. Who? Do we know who? Do we know who? Is this rumor or is this like 100% confirmed? Can you speak to that, Lussie? Ryan R. 6 of the top 8 smartphone manufacturers are in line to receive samples when Ivanix begins shipping. Yeah, see, I don't. It's just like all that stuff is so speculative. And again, sure, they had a 250 or 250,000% increase in revenue, but if it's just one of those things where like it's only been around for a very short period of time, revenue's up and down. Their estimate. Let's look at what their estimate was last time. It is stronger revenue. And maybe if this other deal is like real and it's good, it's confirmed that they got a contract. Okay, but we just don't know who. Okay, gotcha. So maybe that bodes well, and that's why the stock is up. What did you guys say? 50%? I believe it. Here's the problem, though. I don't rush into things. I would let the dust settle. For this company, I mean, it's the CEO of Enphase. Oh, okay. They don't mention the name in the earnings call. I think it's NDA. TJ knows what's up. Okay. Cool. But yeah, so I don't know. With something like this, man, if you guys know a lot more than me, great. If it just went up 50% today, that seems like a lot. And I don't know that I would be interested in jumping into something that's went up that much. It's so much. So much. Let me pull it up real quick. We'll take a look. And then I'll start switching over and we'll get ready. Maybe see if we can pull up the Apple earnings information since that call looks like it's coming up real quick. And again, it looks like it's going to be an interesting one. Was that ENVX? ENVX, I think, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll look at some of those other tickers in a little bit here. So it's above. So let's see. What is it above? Oh, no. It's just made a huge jump. It's up 45%. This would not. So again, especially with options, guys, I would never chase anything like this with options unless like the next day it really retraced hard. Then I would do it because it looks like the revenue stream is starting to solidify. It looks like this company is growing, but it's got a $1.6 billion valuation. And if they had just a couple, like even just an okay quarter that didn't meet expectations, you could see just you could see it get crushed, right? Right now it's above the .382, but if anything bad happened, it could get crushed. And even if just a month passes and it trades in this range and it's decent for a while, you'll see IV crush, and you'll see that you could get it for a much better price. So just if you're looking at this from an option standpoint, I would wait a little bit. I would let it maybe at least retrace, maybe down to 8s. It doesn't have to do that, but it's so speculative. So just remember stuff like this when you're thinking about these stocks. All right, Apple is starting in 13 minutes, 12 minutes. Let me see if their financial data is actually reported on here. And it is. Let's do the press release because I hate financial statements. They're boring as fuck. I wonder what the consolidated financials looks. Oh, no. It's literally just their financial statement. Blarf. Okay. So let's just read the headlines and see if there's anything good here, right? Cupertino, California. Apple today announced financial results for fiscal 2024 second quarter ended March 30th. The company posted quarterly earnings. We know all this. It was good. Down 4% year over year. So we're okay with anything right now. As long as they're buying back $110 billion worth of stock. And again, China wasn't that bad, so I can't discount it too much. Today, Apple's reporting revenue of $90.8 billion for the March quarter, including an all-time revenue record in services, said Tim Cook. So services are helping them. Interesting. I wonder what that looks like in the Chinese market. During the quarter, we were thrilled to launch Apple Vision Pro and to show the world the potential that spatial computing unlocks. I actually do think there's a lot of potential there. I would love to try this thing, but I just don't want to spend $3,000 on a fucking headset because I know I'll probably get bored. It's probably too heavy. I probably won't use it that much. And it's like $3,000, really. I'd rather buy, Apple stock. We're also looking forward to an exciting product announcement next week and an incredible worldwide developers conference next month. So we got a bunch of potential news events coming in front of us. People love that. As always, we're focused on providing the very best products and services for our customers and doing so while living up to the core values that drive us. Hey, thank you very much, Laura, for 59 knock. I don't know how much that is, but I appreciate it either way. Can we have a rant break, caffeine versus cocaine? We'll see. Just give me. I've been drinking a lot of coffee, so we might get one. All right. Thanks to the very high levels of customer satisfaction and loyalty, our active installed customer base of devices has reached a new all-time high across all products and geographic segments, and our business performance drove a new EPS record for the March quarter. Beautiful job, guys. Good job. I am way more fond of Apple now than I used to be since I've got a MacBook Pro. I want to buy an $8,000 MacBook Studio. That's my next one, but I'm going to wait on that. Definitely picking that over that stupid fucking headset, I can tell you that. Given our confidence in Apple's future and the value as we see in our stock, our board has authorized an additional $110 billion of share repurchases. We're also, and they were at a critical technical level, guys. If they didn't do something like this, their stock was going to drop like a fucking, like crazy. Okay. And so they made the right decision here by doing this. This saved their ass. Having a decent quarter that was way less, than what people thought it was, or way less worrisome than what people thought, and then doing this $110 repurchase plan. That's huge. That is so huge. We're also raising our quarterly dividend for the 12th year in a row. There's a reason Apple is such a solid, steady Eddie growth stock, right? Up 9% almost today. Congrats to all holders. Apple's board of directors has declared a cash dividend of 0.25% or 0.25 cents per share for the company's stock, an increase of 4%. The dividend is payable on May 16th, 2024 to shareholders of record. Great. This is all great, guys. Good job, Apple. Very impressed with what you've done. Very excited. Very excited. Let's do this too. We'll start looking you up over here on my favorite financial site. Even though I pay for others, I pay $150 a month for something for Ortex. This thing's only $9.99, I think, for what I pay for the premium service here. And I use this one more than everything else. So it's kind of funny how that works. And also, he's got a lot of good key charts in here for different data points too, by segment, by region. So we can kind of get a beat of it. So let's look here and see if he's got Q1 in here already. And I'm going to do something. I need to expand my screen and then retract my screen. Does it work that way? Oh, it does now. So I can get it brighter in here for me. All right. So let's read here real quick. Session disconnected issue. If you see this error message, you must ensure that you're only logged in to TradingView on one browser at a time. So I have, here's the thing. I think it's supposed to be one computer at a time. And I don't, if you use mobile, it kills it. If I have it on my other computers, it kills it. And I've got another computer still, a PC that I use for my side view monitors. So it sucks. I've got to figure out a better solution. I will figure it out. I'm definitely aware of it and trying to find the best solution. I even tried in incognito mode to see if that would help. And it might, I'm not sure. It might. And so maybe that'll be the thing. I don't know, but it definitely still, if I have it on another computer, it'll just kill it immediately. Anyway, so back to Apple. Apple has year-over-year growth of negative 4%, like not super great. PE ratio is 26, both forward and current. But it's such a steady eddy, and when you have the buybacks, when you have this increasing revenues, it's just a good company. Again, if you look at this, it looks good here, but when you look at it on the yearly, it looks even better, and it looks like they're capable of growth. Even though you could argue that they're flattening out on their revenue growth, it looks like they're going to squeeze a little bit out. And this last couple of years, again, revenue growth might have been squeezed, but look at net income. It's still amazing. They made $97 billion last quarter. That's fucking insane. I don't know what to say. That's insane. Let's check here real quick. The call has not started. Okay, cool. All right, so real quickly, let's look. I want to look at revenue. I want to look at these charts real quick. I want to see what we were looking at for geographic location. So America actually looked really good. Europe looked really good. China was like the least parabolic curve. Japan looks like it might have been more parabolic. Or no, I'm sorry, Japan was flat. Rest of Asia was flatter too. So really, China beat the rest of Asia, but it didn't do as well as Europe. Europe actually had the strongest revenue growth or profits by region, and then America was next. So the Americas. That's pretty interesting. So anyway, a lot of great stuff here. A lot of great stuff. I'm excited about this. Again, if you the 500 or 490-ish people that are here, if you could please hit the like, it would be greatly appreciated. It helps. We're trying to cover Square, Apple, and Coinbase, all for you. So we're doing a lot of stuff here. All right. So if you guys could support that, that would be great. And even though I'm missing the Square one, I'll probably give you a breakdown of that tomorrow on what I got out of that one. I'll still watch it. I just probably won't make it into a video. And then I'll tell you guys my thoughts on it tomorrow. All right. Yeah. So anyway, again, services, record revenue from services, which is great. What did they get? Service revenue was 24 or 23.9 billion. Gross profit from services was 17.8. Products, you could see services becoming a greater part of the pool, which is nice, right? Especially when potentially they're selling less phones in China and other parts of Asia, maybe at least China, because China's so pushing nationalism right now. So again, you're just going to have it where you're probably going to have less sales there, and their economy is going to collapse. It's in the process of it. I don't know if it's affecting a lot of Apple buyers, because if you're buying Apple, you're rich in China. Like, just to be straight up, you're pretty rich if you're buying an Apple phone in China. You're probably buying a Tesla car too. So you're not the poor people. You're the ones that still have money. You're not the bottom 70, 80%. Let's just put it that way. And that's what the proportion is in China. All right, we're getting close, guys. We got 3 minutes until we get a start here for Apple. Very excited about it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to kind of look through here. Patrick Delgado, can we pretend Apple bought 110 billion in Bitcoin, then track the performance of the past next year? Yeah. You know what, though? That's probably going to be a part of their reserves eventually. I don't know if they make it this cycle or not. They're a very big company, so maybe they don't do it. But if they were smart, they should. They should. And I think Tesla should start picking up their purchases too. You heard it here first, Elon. Buy Bitcoin. I do think that's something that would help a lot. All right, real quickly, I'm going to flip back over. I'm going to flip over to the screen. I'm going to do the conference call here in a second. I'm going to flip over, guys, to... Should I do this view? I might do this view for part of it, but otherwise, I'll probably do like the full for a second. I just got to yell at my wife and have her give me something. So give me 1 second. The conference call is starting in 2 minutes, so don't go anywhere. Otherwise, you're missing out. Just give me a second. All right, I'm back. Getting in place. Sorry, I had to get something to eat or I'm going to die. I haven't ate since like breakfast time. So let me switch back over here. So I figured I'd get some food. Something quick and easy. It's got chocolate, and cheese, and some cranberries. I'll try and mute it so you guys don't have to hear me eating. All right, so I'll spin the call up in just a second, and then we'll get going. I'm just going to mute here while I chew on a couple of things so I don't pass out from low blood sugar. 1 second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. All right, we're starting in about 10 seconds. Coin getting shade over time. One time again for the FASB account. What do you mean? What's happening? What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate? I'm super curious. Can somebody tell me how many likes we have right now?
Today's call is being recorded. Speaking first today is Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, and he'll be followed by CFO, Luca Maestri. After that, we'll open the call to questions from analysts. Please note that some of the information you'll hear during our discussion today will consist of forward-looking statements, including, without limitation, those regarding revenue, gross margin, operating expenses, other income and expense, taxes, capital allocation, and future business outlook, including the potential impact of macroeconomic conditions on the company's business and results of operations. These statements involve risks and uncertainties that may cause actual results or trends to differ materially from our forecast. For more information, please refer to the risk factors discussed in Apple's most recently filed annual report on Form 10-K and the Form 8-K filed with the SEC today, along with the associated press release. Apple assumes no obligation to update any forward-looking statements, which speak only as of the date they are made. I'd now like to turn the call over to Tim for introductory remarks.
Thank you, Suhasini. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining the call. Today, Apple is reporting revenue of $90.8 billion and an EPS record of $1.53 for the March quarter. We set revenue records in more than a dozen countries and regions. These include, among others, March quarter records in Latin America and the Middle East, as well as Canada, India, Spain, and Turkey. We also achieved an all-time revenue record in Indonesia, one of the many markets where we continue to see so much potential. In services, we set an all-time revenue record, up 14% over the past year. Keep in mind, as we described on the last call, in the March quarter a year ago, we were able to replenish iPhone channel inventory and fulfill significant pent-up demand from the December quarter COVID-related supply disruptions on the iPhone 14 Pro.
Please smash the
and 14
likes.
Pro Max.
Smash them. Smash.
We estimate
Smash.
this one-time impact added close to $5 billion to the March quarter revenue last year. If we remove this from last year's results, our March quarter total company revenue this year would have grown. Despite this impact, we were still able to deliver the records I described. Of course, this past quarter, we were thrilled to launch Apple Vision Pro, and it has been so wonderful to hear from people who now get to experience the magic of spatial computing. They describe the impossible becoming possible right before their eyes, and they share their amazement and their emotions about what they can do now, whether it's reliving their most treasured memories or having a movie theater experience right in their living room. It's also great to see the enthusiasm from the enterprise market. For example, more than half of the Fortune 100 companies have already bought Apple Vision Pro units and are exploring innovative ways to use it to do things that weren't possible before. And this is just the beginning. Looking ahead, we're getting ready for an exciting product announcement next week that we think our customers will love. And next month, we have our Worldwide Developers Conference, which has generated enormous enthusiasm from our developers. We can't wait to reveal what we have in store. We continue to feel very bullish about our opportunity in generative AI. We are making significant investments, and we're looking forward to sharing some very exciting things with our customers soon. We believe in the transformative power and promise of AI, and we believe we have advantages that will differentiate us in this new era, including Apple's unique combination of seamless hardware, software, and services integration, groundbreaking Apple silicon, with our industry-leading neural engines and our unwavering focus on privacy, which underpins everything we create. As we push innovation forward, we continue to manage thoughtfully and deliberately through an uneven macroeconomic environment and remain focused on putting our users at the center of everything we do. Now let's turn to our results for the March quarter across each product category, beginning with iPhone. iPhone revenue for the March quarter was $46 billion, down 10% year over year. We faced a difficult compare over the previous year due to the $5 billion impact that I mentioned earlier. However, we still saw growth on iPhone in some markets, including mainland China, and according to Kantar, during the quarter, the two best-selling smartphones in urban China were the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro Max. I was in China recently where I had the chance to meet with developers and creators who are doing remarkable things with iPhone. And just a couple of weeks ago, I visited Vietnam, Indonesia, and Singapore, where it was incredible to see all the ways customers and communities are using our products and services to do amazing things. Everywhere I travel, people have such a great affinity for Apple, and it's one of the many reasons I'm so optimistic about the future. Turning to Mac, March quarter revenue was $7.5 billion, up 4% from a year ago. We had an amazing launch in early March with the new 13 and 15-inch MacBook Air. The world's most popular laptop is the best consumer laptop for AI, with breakthrough performance of the M3 chip and its even more powerful neural engine.
I absolutely love mine. Love it.
Finishing their degree, users depend on the power and portability of MacBook Air to take them places they couldn't have gone without it. In iPad, revenue for the March quarter was $5.6 billion, 17% lower year over year due to a difficult compare with the momentum following the launch of M2 iPad Pro and the 10th generation iPad last fiscal year. iPad continues to stand apart for its versatility, power, and performance. For video editors, music makers, and creatives of all kinds, iPad is empowering users to do more than they ever could with a tablet. Across wearables, home, and accessories, March quarter revenue was $7.9 billion, down 10% from a year ago due to a difficult launch compare on Watch and AirPods. Apple Watch is helping runners go the extra mile on their wellness journeys, keeping hikers on course with the latest navigation capabilities in watchOS 10, and enabling users of all fitness levels to live a healthier day. Across our watch lineup, we're harnessing AI and machine learning to power life-saving features like irregular rhythm notifications and fall detection. I often hear about how much these features mean to users and their loved ones, and I'm thankful that so many people are able to get help in their time of greatest need. As I shared earlier, we set an all-time revenue record in services with $23.9 billion, up 14% year over year. We also achieved all-time revenue records across several categories and geographic segments. Audiences are tuning in on screens large, small, and spatial, and are enjoying Apple TV Plus originals like Palm Royale and Sugar. And we have some incredible theatrical releases coming this year, including Wolves, which reunites George Clooney and Brad Pitt. Apple TV Plus productions continue to be celebrated as major awards contenders. Since launch, Apple TV Plus productions have earned more than 2,100 award nominations and 480 wins. Meanwhile, we're enhancing the live sports experience with a new iPhone app, Apple Sports. This free app allows fans to follow their favorite teams and leagues with real-time scores, stats, and more. Apple Sports is the perfect companion for MLS Season Pass subscribers. Turning to retail, our stores continue to be vital spaces for connection and innovation. I was delighted to be in Shanghai for the opening of our latest flagship store. The energy and enthusiasm from our customers was truly something to behold. And across the United States, Our incredible retail teams have been sharing Vision Pro demos with customers, delighting them with the profound and emotional experience of using it for the very first time. Everywhere we operate, in everything we do,
Hey guys, I just wanted to say too, we're only going to do this one for a little bit, and then we're going to switch over to Coin and hear what they have to say for their earnings.
or helping to safeguard iMessage users' privacy with new protections that can defend against advances in quantum computing. Our environmental work is another great example of how innovation and our values
Actually, maybe I'll let you guys decide. I'm going to throw out a vote for what we do next.
across all of our products by 2030. We are proud of how we've been able to innovate and do more for our customers while taking less from the planet. Since 2015, Apple has cut our overall emissions by more than half, while revenue grew nearly 65% during that same time period. And we're now using more recycled materials in our products than ever before. Earlier this spring, we launched our first ever product to use 50% recycled materials with a new M3-powered MacBook Air. We're also investing in new solar and wind power in the US and Europe, both to power our growing operations and our users' devices. And we're working with partners in India.
All right, so just so you know, we do have, I've already got Coin queued up, so we're going to be going to that next. So Coin is over here. We can look at the financials. Let's give this like another 5 minutes. Then we'll look at the financials for Coin, and then we'll be ready for that call, okay? So let's do it that way. So let's just give this a couple more minutes.
We welcome 2 supplier partners as new investors who will take up to an additional $80 million in the fund. Whether we're enriching lives of users across the globe or doing our part to be a force for good in the world, we do everything with a deep sense of purpose at Apple. And I'm proud of the impact we've already made at the halfway point in a year of unprecedented innovation. I couldn't be more excited for the future we have ahead of us, driven by the imagination and innovation of our teams and the enduring importance of our products and services in people's lives. With that, I'll turn it over to Luca.
Thank you, Tim, and good afternoon, everyone. Revenue for the March quarter was $90.8 billion, down 4% from last year. Foreign exchange had a negative year-over-year impact of 140 basis points on our results. Products revenue was $66.9 billion, down 10% year-over-year, due to the challenging compare on iPhone that Tim described earlier, which was partially offset by strength from Mac. And thanks to our unparalleled customer satisfaction and loyalty and a high number of customers who are new to our products, our installed base of active devices reached an all-time high across all products and all geographic segments. Services revenue set an all-time record of $23.9 billion.
Yep, that's 100% right, Patrick. Hey, we're going to go ahead and move on, guys. I'm going to go ahead and kill this one. And we are going to look at the letter for Coinbase. So we're going to go through that here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and unmute this now that we got that turned off. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to close down here the Apple side of the business. So just 1 second. I'm just going to kill a few tabs. All right. So that's 100% right. I wanted to talk. Patrick Delgado said FASB accounting rules. FASB introduced new accounting rules. They go into effect at the end of this year, but people can voluntarily pick them up now. It said it allows appreciation of crypto assets to be shown as income, whereas before it couldn't. And at the same time, too, it doesn't require them to write it off to the lowest level of whatever the asset was for that quarter, which sucked. So there's a couple of things that went into effect with it, but he was saying that MicroStrategy didn't adopt it yet because, again, it's voluntary. And so they're not incorporating it. Are they going to, do you know, Patrick, if they're supposed to incorporate it this year at all? Curious. And we're on Coin. Guys, Coinbase doesn't have their call start until I believe it's 4:30. Let me just confirm real quickly on my calendar. Just 1 second. Oh, wrong day. Let me get over here. Yeah, Coinbase is 4:30, so we've still got 15 minutes on it, so we're going to look over the shareholder newsletter, okay? Not to December but that's when they have to do it, but do you know if they're going to be doing it before that? Did they indicate it all? All right, let's go over Coin. Let's look at the shareholder letter, and let me just do something else. I need to, real quickly. There we go. Perfect. All right, let me read it off here. Our fellow shareholders, our financial performance in Q1 reflects our focused execution on product expansion, ongoing operational discipline, and strong crypto market conditions. We generated $1.6 billion of total revenue and $1.2 billion of net income. Adjusted EBITDA was $1.1 billion, more than we generated in all of 2023. And the numbers are just going to get a lot bigger. Additionally, we made meaningful progress against our 2024 priorities of driving revenue, utility, and regulatory clarity. I mean, a lot of progress, right? Our market share in U.S. spot and derivatives increased. We reached all-time highs on Coinbase Prime, and USDC market capitalization increased. Coinbase One adoption remains strong. I actually use that. And our international business was a larger contributor to our growth. That's great. Through Base, our layer 2 solution, we are expanding the utility of crypto by improving the infrastructure of the ecosystem, increasing speed and stability of the network, and empowering builders to innovate on chain. Lastly, we continue to drive regulatory clarity for crypto through grassroots advocacy, pushing for legislation, and ongoing efforts to seek clarity through courts. All in Q1 was a highly productive start to 2024 for Coinbase, and we remain as focused as ever on our mission of increasing our economic freedom in the world. I love that. All right. Let me see if I can zoom. Can I zoom in at all? Yeah, let me just do that real quick here. This is a little harder to read. There we go. That's probably better. That's probably better, right? Now you guys can see it too. All right. So again, just some visualizations of it. USDC, fastest growing major US-backed stablecoin so far in 2024. Let's hope PYUSD gets up in that race, but they'll actually probably turn into the fastest because they're so much smaller. Again, growth internationally. What does it say? First and largest international crypto market registered in Canada. New perpetual futures listings on Coinbase International Exchange, and 80% coverage of the estimated total perpetual futures volume globally as of Q1. Wow, that's huge. Bringing the world on chain. 8x increase in developer activity on Base in Q1. Base is something I haven't paid a lot of attention to. I should probably look at it. Over 2x more transactions in ETH in the last 30 days. Cool. And I'm sure Solana is through the roof. All right. Chapter 1, Q1 results. Our investments in product expansion, continued operational discipline, and strong market conditions as we generated 1.2. All right, I'm getting bored with part of this. I do want to, they're going to go over this in the call. I actually just want to look real quickly at the updated version in here, because again, the call in 10 minutes is going to talk about a lot of this, and then they can talk about it, and I don't have to fucking read it. All right, revenue growth year over year, 102 or 12%. And let's see, is this including, this is Q1, so it's got Q1 in here. You can see monthly active users are increasing, highest level since Q1 of 2023. That's good. That shows people are coming back. Look at assets under custody. Highest level going back to 2020. We know that much, right? Probably maybe the highest level ever that for what's coming up here. What does it say? 200, highest was 278, at least by the yearly time frame. And we're at 334. Yeah, we blew that away. Trading volumes increasing again, and these can get very high, guys. You can see what it was in 2021, right? It's going to get, these numbers are going to get crazy, especially with all the growth they've had, with the fact that they're like literally the custodian for all these major ETFs and just all the growth they're getting internationally. It's gonna go up a lot. And look at this. Look at the steep incline already. You can see what 2020. Look at that Q1 of 2020. Just non-existent revenue, 190 million. The trough this time around was 607 or about 600 million versus 190. So 3x higher was the base from the last cycle to this cycle. and we're just getting started. We're going to blow through. I wouldn't be surprised if we're near record levels for revenue come here next quarter in Q2. So this looks great. Net income too. What did they get? 1.2 billion almost. Second highest net income ever in this company's history. So not losing money anymore, making up for that trough of the bear market, right? Look at their cash position, just exploded higher. Gotta love it. Share dilution's happening still with this company. That's one thing to keep an eye on. I will say this though. Look at how much leaner they got. So this is a oh, sorry about that. This is a decently run company. You can see where their R&D, their G&A, their S&M, all these things, all of their operating expenses were so much higher in Q1 of 2022, 2 years ago. And now they're seeing record revenues, and look at this. Their operating expenses aren't near where they were before. So you got to love that. It looks like they're at least doing a decent job of trying to stabilize expenses. Let's see what their estimates look like. Nice. Look at that. Again, it's that I think they're lowballing, because then they'll just constantly be beating expectations, because look how high this quarter was. Or they're just factoring in maybe a dip because of the halving and some uncertainty. But I do think they're lowballing, and I think it's going to prove to be true, and it's going to show how much better they are versus their estimates. Like, they're going to end up having to guide higher, or people will just get surprised every single quarter. Let's see. Did they do any buybacks? Not really, but they had so much dilution on this. What is the stock? What is the buyback on this? Or I'm sorry, stock dilution. It looks like 13.7% of revenue. So there's still a decent amount of dilution versus the revenues that are coming in. Again, Alejandro has a great site. Look at this revenue by segment. There's just so many great breakdowns here, right? You can see the largest by far area of growth was consumer, but institutional is also near record levels right now too, right? And then you have everything underneath. The custodial actually, look at that, barely any revenues with custodial. Shocking how low they are. And then they've got stablecoin revenues, which are a decent amount. They've got subscription revenues. They've got interest that they're making. And corporate revenues, it looks like it says on here. But so they've got a lot of different revenue streams encapsulated within it. Revenue by crypto asset. That's interesting. Mostly other. You know what that is? That's probably mostly Solana, and then some other shit coins too, I would guess. I don't know. Would they make a lot from Solana? I don't know. Maybe it's some of these other shit coins. Maybe they make high margins on some of them. Some of them have crazy transaction fees or wild spreads, probably. That's probably where they're making all the money. But again, from where you were seeing this before, the operating leverage, the expenses, how the expenses were way high, revenue was dropping way low, and then they've countered that, and now they've reversed. This is what you want to see from them each cycle. You want to see them creating efficiency. And I like the fact that average revenue by user is going up a lot. Trading volume by asset, again, other. I think that's probably Solana. It's probably Solana that's actually increasing trading volume. We know that just from a lot of the data that James and others post. But I don't see anything to hate here, guys. All these metrics look really nice. It looks like these guys are going to be a major beneficiary of what's going on. Forward PE, though, I mean, forward PE is 53. But again, they're just going to make so much money. They're going to make so much money from FASB accounting rules, and I mean, maybe for them a little bit in FASB accounting rules. I don't know how much they actually have themselves. I think it's all assets under management. So maybe the FASB accounting probably doesn't really affect these guys much. It's really going to be like MicroStrategy and the miners that have that impact. Now that I think about it, it's not going to be on coin. People get confused because they hold Bitcoin just like Robinhood, but it's not theirs, right? It's just under custody. It's right here. So the benefactors of this are the people that own Bitcoin. And you can see that 117 billion or whatever it was in assets under custody, and now they're 334. So they're the people that are with them. There's almost 3 times as much wealth as there was in Q3 of 2023. It's pretty awesome. All right, so we got 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes until the conference call with these guys. So I think we could just chill a little bit while that's happening. Let me see. I'll catch up on comments here. Everybody wanted to go to coin, so that's what we did. Patrick Delgado, not till December for MicroStrategy, I think. Lisa Marie, why wouldn't they want to incorporate it? It doesn't help the financials. It hugely helps their financials, but maybe they didn't want them helped yet. I don't know. It's hard to know. They're a corporation. There could be some other benefits, maybe. Maybe there's some tax-related stuff. It's hard to know why they're doing it, but I can tell you they will have massive benefits in the future when they do. And I'll catch up on the conference too, guys, which will give me a better bead on what's going on with MicroStrategy. I'll figure out what's going on with that. I've still got to get caught up on the conference. They've got more of it going on tomorrow, so I think it'll be pretty interesting to see how it all plays out. I am going to switch. It looks like Apple's kind of vibrating around a little bit. I am going to move real quickly from Square on the screen over to Coinbase so we could see it. And again, it's down 3.33, so it's Coinbase, you could see, is not having as good of a time as Apple is having. Actually looks like maybe it could break lower. But again, I think like my friend Income Sharks posted, this thing's just run really hard. It's like MicroStrategy when it was at a 100%, 120% premium. Like, it's going to get beat up. I can't vote on Elon's comp package because of timing. I didn't have actual shares. I just have options, and so I don't get a vote. But if I could vote, I definitely would. I mean, in a heartbeat. Everybody, if you guys have shares, vote for Elon's comp package. It will be the most beneficial thing you can do for your stock. So it's a no-brainer. You have to be an idiot to not do it. That's my take. All right. Again, if you guys could if you haven't already, much appreciated. I get that everybody will not stick around either. We only have almost 3 minutes now until we get to Coinbase's earnings. So, let me just make sure that it hasn't started. 1 second. Nope, we're turning that shit off. You ain't copyrighting me. You ain't getting me. All right. But yeah, otherwise, Coinbase looks great. I really like the chart I'm probably most interested in. I think the one that's just kind of most insightful, in my opinion. I mean, the rest of the world, we didn't even look at that. Revenue by region, I should say. So, yeah. Wow, what is that? Is that the rest of the world? The rest of the world increased a lot for them, didn't it? I mean, it was big in 2021, but you can definitely see that it was growing more than just the US-based revenues. So it's interesting. Maybe that's a lot of it is in Canada. I don't know. Very interesting. And then also, I love the revenue by segment is like the best to me. I really like to see the breakdown. Here's what I love. I love that there's additional revenue streams that you didn't see before. You could see a little bit about crypto sales, but now you have things like, again, corporate interest payments, subscription-related service. There's just all these extra line items that are making them money. I love that. But again, there's a reason why, especially around times like earnings, if you look in the bottom left down here, you could see the pain that was being felt for people today that might have bought into this, not paying attention to, how high priced and what the IV was on like a Coinbase option. And you could just get screwed because, again, it was up 9% on the day and now it's down almost 3%. And so you could go from like celebrating and being super happy and like ready to blow out or take out the balloons and party to some immense sadness very quickly when you fuck around with short dated options or around earnings time, when on both sides of the trade there are a massive amount of money that have flown in. And so both sides usually get more expensive, right? A lot of the times because people are taking bets. And so trading around earnings with options is not smart. I would never recommend doing it. I have 11 Tesla shares. If the comp package is turned down, maybe I can sue in Delaware. You should. I think that's enough. I think you only need like 5 or 6. So definitely sue the fuck out of them. Intelligent Computing. Have you lowered the cost of monthly membership? No, I'm doing it. I am going to. I'm probably going to do it like right at the middle of the month. But I have not lowered it. But I will be doing that. I got it on my calendar whenever I put it for. I think it's the middle of the month. Lol, no doubt. Hey, Hesse sports cards. That was incredible. Yeah, thank you. Right, got to do the visuals. How are we sitting? We got a couple seconds. Let's check. Let's check. Let's see if the music is off. Don't you copyright me. All right, killing it again. We're still waiting on that. I'll just leave that up for now. That guy only made 10K. Oh yeah, he didn't hardly own anything, right? Fucking idiot. He had just like several shares or something. It was a stupid number. Yeah, it was a really dumb number. And then he was able to literally retract a multi-billion-dollar package that was granted by a vote from the previous shareholders at the time. It just let you know that the state of Delaware is somewhere nobody should be incorporated anymore. They pretty much probably marked the death of people incorporating in Delaware. I would say, if you're a smart company, or if you're not woke, right? If you're a non-woke company, you're definitely removing yourself from the state of Delaware as soon as possible. So it's not a very smart move on their part, I don't think. Coin headline: EPS sounds big, but includes $730 million of market-to-market gains. Not real. Oh, okay. All right. I'm worried that the lawyers will get voting rights if they got paid 10% of the settlement in shares. Yeah, right. Some bullshit. All right. We should be started. I'm going to check it again and see if it's actually started up here. One sec. I'm going to, maybe I'll refresh. Nope. Let me see. I'll just do it this way.
Are provided in the shareholder letter on our investor relations website. Non-GAAP financial measures should be considered in addition to, not as a substitute for, GAAP measures. We are once again using the Say Technologies platform to enable our shareholders to ask questions. And in addition, we will take some live questions from our research analysts. With that, I'll turn it over to Brian for opening comments.
Thanks, Anil. Q1 was a very strong quarter. We generated more adjusted EBITDA than we did all of last year. Keeping our cost structure low while continuing to innovate is really paying off. To kick off today's call, I wanted to provide a progress update on the 2024 priorities that I shared on our Q4 call. As a refresher, they are first, driving revenue. We're doing this through improvements to our core simple trading experience, growth in stablecoins, winning in the derivative space both in the US and abroad, and driving international growth by investing in key markets. Second, we're driving utility in crypto. We're doing this through Base, our low-cost Layer 2 solution, and building a better payments experience on crypto rails. And third, we're driving regulatory clarity. We're doing this through the courts, through collaboration with policymakers around the world to pass sensible rules, and most importantly, through activating the crypto voter base to elect pro-crypto candidates in this upcoming election. Let's start with driving revenue. In Q1, we capitalized on strong market conditions, and we saw many of our investments through this last downturn begin to pay off.
I'm sorry, isn't it great to know that they're fighting for candidates that support crypto and Bitcoin?
Across our product suite. Coinbase Prime reached all-time highs in trading volume and active clients, and nearly 40% of our clients engaged with 3 or more products in Q1. Turning to derivatives, both Coinbase Financial Markets and Coinbase International Exchange have shown promising growth in their early stages. In Q1, Coinbase International Exchange added 15 new perpetual future listings. We've also increased the position limits across both products. USDC market cap increased over 30% year to date and is growing faster than major competitors. We see higher engagement from customers who hold USDC balances on our platform, so we've been investing in growing those platforms' balances by unifying order books on advanced trading and offering competitive rewards. And while it's still early days, we're also seeing great traction with Coinbase One, our consumer subscription product, which surpassed 400,000 paid subscribers in Q1. Next, let's move on to utility. I'd like to spotlight our Layer 2 solution, Base. As a reminder, Layer 2 solutions help blockchains scale, similar to when the internet moved from dial-up to broadband. And we believe this scaling will drive many new use cases in the crypto economy. Base has helped dramatically reduce transaction fees and confirmation times, getting us closer to our goal of having the average crypto transaction take less than 1 second and cost less than 1 cent anywhere in the world. Developer activity on Base increased 8-fold in Q1. In the last 30 days, Base has processed over 2 times as many transactions as the entire Ethereum network on Layer 1. Base is now the #1 Layer 2 solution by number of transactions processed, a huge accomplishment. We've made Base faster and cheaper to use with fee reduction by about 80% through protocol upgrades, and our fees are now often below 1 cent. We're also integrating USDC on Base across Coinbase products, creating nearly free instant global payments in a USD denominated asset. This is a really, really big deal, because we now have direct line of sight to update the global financial system by reducing the billions in payment fees paid by consumers and businesses each year. Finally, let's discuss regulatory clarity. Coinbase continues to invest heavily in driving clear rules and regulations around the world for crypto, and we're actively contributing to advancing pro-crypto candidates during this major election year. We're a large contributor to pro-crypto organizations like Fairshake Super PAC, which already had a great impact in the March primaries in California, Texas, and Alabama. We also continue to work with grassroots advocacy organizations like standwithcrypto.org, which now has over 400,000 crypto advocates who've raised their hand indicating they want to elect pro-crypto candidates in November. We're also making steady progress in getting clarity through the courts in our litigation with the SEC. In Q1, the court ruled on our motion to dismiss, dismissing the SEC's claim regarding Coinbase Wallet, which was a significant win for self-custodial wallets across the industry. This win provided clarity for us.
Bitcoin's climbing pretty good right now. If you look at the left side of the screen.
Increasing economic freedom. The court denied the rest of the motion at this very early stage, meaning the rest of our case is proceeding to discovery, but we're fully prepared for an intensive discovery phase through the remainder of the year and remain confident in the strength of our legal arguments. 2024 is shaping up to be an important growth year for our industry and for our mission. Now, I'll pass it over to Alicia, who will provide detailed insights into our financials.
Thanks, Brian, and good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to cover 3 topics. First, comments on our Q1 financial performance. Second, a review of a key transaction and an accounting change. And third, I'll touch on our Q2 outlook. You can find more details on all of these topics in our shareholder letter and our 10-Q. Let's start with Q1 financial performance. Q1 total revenue grew 72% quarter over quarter to $1.6 billion.
Bitcoin's breaking out. 59.5, breaking out.
Was $1 billion. As Brian said, more than we generated in all of 2023. We ended Q1 with a strong liquidity position, including $7.1 billion in USD resources. And equally, if not more importantly, our customer safeguarded assets grew to $330 billion. We are proud to safely store over 12% of total crypto market cap on our platform. These results reflect our focused execution on product expansion, our ongoing operational
59.6,
and strong crypto market conditions. Looking at transaction revenue grew 103% quarter over quarter to $1.1 billion. This is driven by higher crypto asset volatility, as well as crypto asset prices, which both increased sharply in March. On the consumer side, trading volume growth was strong across both simple and advanced, resulting in our consumer blended average fee being roughly flat quarter over quarter. We saw higher engagement from users acquired in 2023 and prior, as well as new user growth. We also gained market share in spot trading.
Yeah, Bitcoin Lightning Network integration is so fucking badass. I'm so impressed. It took them years to do it, but it's finally happening. It's such a positive, such a huge thing.
I want to share that in the first quarter, we broke out other transaction revenue, which consists of revenue from base sequencer fees and payment-related revenue. These revenues were previously included in consumer transaction revenue. Our goal is to drive utility and experiment with payments, and this new revenue transparency helps provide investors insight into that ambition. Our subscription and services revenue grew 36% quarter over quarter to $511 million. This growth was driven by higher crypto asset prices and native unit growth. I'd like to call out that the price of Ethereum was 60% higher when comparing March 31st to December 31st, and was a key driver of the blockchain rewards revenue growth. On the native unit front, we did see inflows into both custody and staking. USDC market cap grew 32% to to close Q1 at over $32 billion. I'd also like to note that in Q1, we renamed interest income to interest and finance fee income, and we reclassified prime financing fees to this line, which was previously recorded in other subscription and services revenue. On the expense side, total expenses increased 5% sequentially to $877 million. And as we shared on our last call, the primary driver of quarter-over-quarter expense increase was higher stock-based compensation. All right, second topic. There are two items to note today. One, in the first quarter, we issued a convertible note. This was an opportunistic capital raise that raised $1.1 billion in net proceeds and added to our cash balance. We plan to use proceeds from that capital raise to repay our outstanding debt at or prior to maturity, depending on market prices. Second update, notable accounting change. We early adopted Accounting Standard 2023-08. As a result, we now account for all crypto assets that we hold on our platform at fair value, as compared to historically, where we accounted for these assets at cost less impairments. In Q1, since crypto asset prices were higher on March 31st as compared to December 31st, we recorded $737 million in pre-tax crypto asset mark-to-market gains. The majority of this was unrealized at quarter end, i.e. we had not sold the assets and realized this gain. You can see that in two new financial statement line items. First, $86 million in gains on crypto assets held for operations net and operating expense, which pertains to crypto held and used in our operations. Second, $650 million recorded in gains on crypto assets held for investments net, which is below the line and pertains to our long-term investment portfolio. We will be adding back gains or losses on the crypto investments to adjusted EBITDA, as we do not consider those assets to be part of our day-to-day operations. Last, I'd like to touch on our outlook. We shared in the letter that April transaction revenue was over $300 million, and that we anticipate subscription and services revenue to be in the range of $525 million to $600 million. This assumes crypto asset prices stay in the range we have seen year-to-date 2024. On the expense side, we expect technology and development and general and administrative expenses to increase sequentially to $660 to $710 million. This increase is primarily driven by higher variable expenses, notably customer support and certain infrastructure expenses related to higher trading volumes. I want to point out that on the customer support side, expenses typically lag revenue growth and trading volume growth, as it takes us time to ramp up the resources to meet higher volumes. Last item of note on the outlook. We are investing in additional sales and marketing expense and expect these to increase to $150 to $180 million. The primary driver in this growth is USDC rewards due to USDC on-platform growth. We ended Q1 with $5.5 billion in USDC on platform, nearly double compared to our Q4 ending balance. And therefore, the reward payouts on these incremental balances will increase in Q2. We are pleased to see this growth in USDC and our incentive programs driving the broader adoption of our platform products and services. With that, Anil, back to you for questions.
Thanks. So let's turn to shareholder questions. We're taking the most upvoted questions as determined by the number of shares. Our first question is,
I love how they do this.
And how will this drive value to shareholders? Alicia?
Thanks. As Brian shared earlier in his comments, we're seeing some really encouraging traction on Base. And I just mentioned that we have a new revenue line item called Other Transaction Revenue. It's a combination of the Base sequencer fees and payment-related revenues. Quarter over quarter in Q1, the growth that we saw was primarily driven by growth in Base sequencer fees. It's early days, however, and our primary focus is on growing developer activity, driving adoption, driving those transactions that we noted earlier. I want to point out that Base has really strong unit economics. So as we grow transaction volume, which is the key growth metric we are focused on, we believe that Base can become a material contributor to our revenue and profits over the long term.
Thanks. So our second question is, have you done an analysis to determine the net revenue impact from the spot ETFs? Emily?
Sure. As Brian mentioned, the ETFs unlocked a flywheel of customer engagement across our Coinbase Prime product suite, and we were excited to see 40% of institutional clients engage with 3 or more products in Q1. We saw both direct and indirect revenue impacts from the ETFs. The direct impact is clear in our financials. We saw native unit inflows as the custodian for 8 of 11 issuers. This supported growth in our assets under custody of 69% quarter over quarter to $171 billion, as well as growth in our custodial fee revenue of 64% quarter over quarter to $32 million. We also saw strong growth in prime finance revenue, which contributed to interest and finance fee income being up 36% quarter over quarter. On an indirect basis, in addition to Coinbase Prime reaching all-time highs in trading volume and number of active clients, we saw elevated trading activity across the board in Q1. We saw broad-based consumer growth in Advanced and Simple, with consumer trading volume up 93% quarter over quarter, outperforming the US spot market. We've long said that the ETFs would benefit the entire ecosystem, and we're thrilled to see that play out on our platform.
All right, and the final question we'll take from Say is, does Coinbase plan to offer any other products in the near term, like banking or insurance products? Brian?
Yeah, so we're not planning to build anything in the banking or insurance space at the moment. We feel like we have plenty to do in the crypto space, and we want to really focus on how crypto rails can be used to update the global financial system and make things faster, cheaper, more global. And things in crypto tend to have a 100% reserve ratio. You'd only need a banking license if you wanted to kind of do fractional reserve or something like that, which we don't have any plans to do at the moment. We also try not to pre-announce anything on these calls. I kind of believe in let's not announce vaporware. Let's actually go build things. And if once they're live, we kind of announce them to everybody, including on these calls. But you can imagine that we're always looking at how we can provide more services for retail, insto, and also on our developer platform. There's all kinds of things that crypto is really enabling at this point. And with Base coming online, there'll be a lot of opportunities there. We're doing a lot of international expansion. We've got a whole on-chain economy to build. So, good ideas can come from anywhere within Coinbase. Even bottoms up. We've had groups come pitch us on ideas, and some of those have turned out to be the products that you see that are live today. So I suspect we will continue to do that and create a lot of innovative products over time.
All right, great. With that, Sarah, let's switch and take live questions from the analysts, please.
Thank you. Your first question comes from the line of Devin Ryan with Citizens JMP. Your line is open.
Hey, great. Thank you, everyone. First question, just want to follow up here on Base, and appreciate the growth there is not going to be linear. But as we think about the rollout of, I think, the smart wallets later this quarter, which I believe are on testnet now, it would seem that could represent a pretty material catalyst for both a step function of activity on Base and also USDC growth and adoption. So I'd love to just maybe get your expectations there, just based on the interest you're seeing around integration with smart wallets, and particularly as you're kind of thinking about taking a step deeper into connectivity with Web3. Thanks.
Yeah, sure, I can take that. So thanks for calling out the smart wallet. That's been a really exciting, innovative product that we're working on, and it's very early days, so we have to kind of caveat everything we say here. We don't know exactly what the impact will be, but one thing we've been always thinking about at Coinbase is how do we make these tools easier to use? And onboarding to crypto wallets has been a really big challenge in the past. You have to, sometimes there's a 12-word phrase and you have to save it in a safe spot or use some kind of Chrome extension. And we always think about how do we get this to 1 billion people so they can benefit from the technology. Those kind of onboarding experiences are a little bit too technical for probably that size of an audience. So, with the smart wallet, we've been utilizing this kind of creation of the passkeys, which is an interesting technology in its own right. You may have seen it kind of if you've done a biometric, push your fingerprint in various scenarios in different kinds of apps. This is allowing us to onboard people into the crypto economy in a much faster, simpler, and actually more secure way where they're less likely to lose funds. So we have a developer preview out right now. It's only on testnet. We've got incredible developer interest in it, and that's a really exciting thing because all of that leads to basically more applications getting built. And it goes back to that analogy I mentioned where Base is, I think, kind of going to be like the internet moving from dial-up to broadband. If we can build better developer tools, we'll get more applications, and that's how we eventually get it to 1 billion people.
From 26 to 6% short interest. Nobody's stepping in front of this one.
Resources from 5.5 billion to 7 billion. I know you benefited from the convert, as you guys mentioned, but also strong cash generation in the business. So if we think about just the level of growth you're seeing right now and all the areas that you're focusing on and the areas that need capital to grow and support their businesses versus ones that don't, and how are you thinking about kind of the capital needs, I guess, of the business now, and where does that leave you just with what I would think is just kind of building capital for capacity to do other things like more aggressive M&A or even potentially return capital to shareholders? Just love an update there as well.
Thanks. I'll take this one. So we are plowing a fair amount of capital into our prime financing business. We ended the quarter with just over $700 million in loans, which the majority of them came from assets on our own balance sheet, whether that was fiat, USDC. We have a new footnote that discloses a lot of detail around that lending portfolio. So that business is using liquidity. I wouldn't say that it's using a lot of our capital today, but we are bridging that product as we grow and develop a two-sided marketplace for institutional lending. We also use capital for international expansion as we set up new licensed legal entities around the world. But overall, I would say we have a very capital efficient business where we have positive unit economics in our products and we don't require significant capital either in the form of CapEx or balance sheet to support them. So our balance sheet is intended to be bridge capital for a lot of these bootstrapping the products as well as opportunistic so that we can pursue M&A. And I'll pass it over to Emily to share what we're looking at on that front.
Sure. Well, we always look at a spectrum of buy, build, partner, invest activities. And so, for example, sometimes we'll see really interesting opportunities that are kind of further out for us that would be well suited for venture. Whereas if we have something on the product roadmap that we think is incredibly important to the future of Coinbase, we're going to probably build or buy that. And we have done historically very well with M&A to bolster the product portfolio. You can think of things like Tagomi and Zappo, for example, that helped us build our institutional product platform. Right now, we happen to be shipping very well organically. We launched in Canada, Brazil, Singapore. We have the international exchange. And so we're leaning a little bit more into our ventures arm, but we're watching M&A opportunities all the time. We closed Ordam in 2023. That's now Coinbase Asset Management. We are acquiring a MiFID license for the EU. We announced that in Q1. That should unlock derivatives in 20 plus EU markets. And we're just going to continue to use the strong balance sheet to drive growth where we see high quality opportunities.
Your next question comes from the line of Ken Worthington with JP Morgan. Your line is open.
Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for taking the question. So 1Q24 total revenue up 72%, 1Q24 total expenses up 5%. That's amazing operating leverage. In your 2Q guidance suggests some higher costs, but still a very high level of profitability. How are you thinking about the right level of investment in the context of what is a good cryptocurrency environment, but acknowledging they can't sort of turn on and turn off investments as quickly as revenue might move around? Is there sort of a logical margin range that in these better cryptocurrency conditions you feel is right over a longer time frame, balancing the need for future growth and current profitability?
Thanks, Ken, for your question. So I think it's important to note that our focus is on positive adjusted EBITDA, and our overarching goal is to generate positive adjusted EBITDA in all market conditions. You saw that in 2023, those adjusted EBITDA margins were in the 30%. Obviously, when we see strong crypto market conditions, we were able to deliver the Q1 performance that you see today in the 60% range. But the focus here is on learning the lessons from the past, and we learned in 2021 that we grew too quickly. So as we look at 2024, we are going to be making investments. We are planning to be prudent and modest to support the strong performance we've seen year to date, and especially some of the early traction that we're seeing, for example, in Base, in USDC, and some of these other products that are not as correlated with crypto market prices and volatility. For the outlook we provided for Q2, the majority of the increase, though, is coming from variable spend. As I noted in my comments, we see CX customer support and compliance operations typically lag trading volume. And so the spike that we saw in March, the expenses are really hitting in Q2. And then we also have some infra-related spend associated with scaling our infra to meet demand. So we are going to be prudent. We expect to see some modest headcount growth in Q2, but we plan to be able, in strong market conditions, to deliver to the bottom line.
Your next question comes from the line of Benjamin Buddish with Barclays. Your line is open.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for taking the questions. Maybe just a couple of sort of model-related questions. First, on the payment-related revenues and the sequencer fees. On the payment side, could you talk a little bit more about what those are exactly? How should we think about, modeling them? What are the key drivers?
Sure. So it's a broad category for everything on the platform that is payments related. It includes instant withdrawal fees, debit card fees, commerce fees, and some of the more venture type products that we have in the portfolio that are payments related. So I would say that Base, as I mentioned earlier, has been the biggest contributor to growth quarter over quarter, and that is the largest of these revenue streams at this time, but the payment related are the ones that I named.
Got it. Helpful. And then just on the institutional client engagement, you talked about, I think, 40% of institutions seeing engagement with 3+ products. Can you talk about where that is, and is it sort of you've got a client who started with trading and they add prime and borrowing and they're doing stuff with ETFs? Can you maybe unpack that a little bit? Anywhere you're seeing particularly strong traction, any particular types of products?
Sure, happy to. So I think it's really important to kind of zoom back and look at the last bull run where our institutional offering in 2021 was really limited to like the custody platform. And over the last few years, we've built out a full prime suite. And so the prime suite offers custody, trading to the prime brokerage product. It offers financing now. We have staking. And so we're seeing customers engage across that product spectrum. I would say custody, trading go hand in hand. And then you see, depending on the type of client, whether they lead financing business or whether they're in staking, tends to be a mix depending on the types of clients, but we're seeing good adoption across each of those, which has led to the growth that you saw in the quarter.
Your next question comes from the line of Owen Lau with Oppenheimer. Your line is open.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. Could you please add more color on your strategy for Lightning Network and payment? What is the traction on encouraging more merchants to use Lightning Network, and what are the major pushback from them? Thank you.
Yeah, I can take that one. So as I mentioned in the opening remarks, one of our goals is to drive down the cost and the confirmation times of all payments in crypto, really all transactions in crypto, I should say. And Bitcoin is the largest network out there. And so Lightning was a big effort that we went on in partnership with Lightspark, by the way, to enable the Lightning Network on Coinbase. So this actually decreased the transaction times by over 99%. They essentially became instant on the Lightning Network versus roughly a 10-minute block confirmation time on the Bitcoin layer 1. And it also lowered fees down, about less than 0.1% from the previous fees. So this was a huge step toward getting to that sub 1 second, 1 cent. If we can do that across all the major chains and sort of make layer 2, like Lightning Network, a default within our apps and products, then I think the average transaction happening in crypto, or at least on our products, will get under that 1 second, 1 cent. And my excitement about that is that it allows us to really start to fulfill some of the long-term goals of crypto, which is how do we update the global financial system? How do we make it more fair and efficient and global, and really kind of reduce those payment fees, which are a shocking burden for a lot of consumers and businesses. I mean, it still boggles my mind that every time you swipe your credit card, the merchant is losing 2%. It's really just moving bits of data, kind of like sending a WhatsApp message, which is free. And so there's, why does that still exist as a 2% tax on every transaction in the economy? I think we've seen in other technologies out there that as you reduce friction, you get more and more activity. And so I think it could lead to, economic growth and all kinds of things, just lower fees that people are paying. So anyway, we're excited about having launched the Lightning integration with Lightspark. They were a great partner, and hopefully we can do that across all the major chains that people are using.
Your next question comes from the line of Kyle Voigt with KBW. Your line is open.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Maybe just going back to the institutional business, just on the trading side, the fee rate came in better than expected and has increased the last 2 quarters despite volumes growing significantly over that time. I guess what's been driving that? And then I'm also just wondering whether the strong market share on the ETF custody side and more broadly, the competitive positioning across the U.S. institutional crypto ecosystem has given you some pricing power in the institutional business more broadly, so not just on trading. And should we think about maybe pricing or fee capture to increase over the medium term in that institutional business because of that?
Thanks, Kyle. So I want to start and just remind you that there's 2 products underneath the hood of the institutional transaction fee revenue. The first is the exchange, where we have market makers trading directly on the exchange. And the second is our Coinbase Prime, which is the trading through the Prime brokerage platform. Fees on Coinbase Prime are higher than the fees on the exchange, largely due to the exchange just being very high volume, where our tiered pricing enables most of the clients participating in that to achieve very low fee levels. So when you see the fee go up, it's really driven by a mix shift. And we're seeing more growth on Coinbase Prime than we saw on the exchange. And as we grow Coinbase Prime, which I mentioned in my previous remarks, or Brian did, that we saw all-time highs in engagement on Coinbase Prime, both in trading volume as well as number of active clients. And that is what drove that fee for the last 2 quarters. It's just continued engagement with the Coinbase Prime suite of products.
Your next question comes from the line of Joseph Vafi with Canaccord Genuity. Your line is open.
Hey guys, nice results this afternoon. Maybe we could just drill down into some of the user-based metrics. Obviously, I'm sure you saw a lot more trading from existing users, but just wondering, how much perhaps new users contributed to the strong quarter, and then I'll have a quick follow-up.
We haven't broken it out, but we saw growth, yes, from existing users that were acquired prior to 2023 that re-engaged this quarter. We saw new users, and we also saw higher trading volume per user. So both of these, or all 3 of these metrics, really contributed to the growth, but we have not attributed and provided that level of detail.
Got it. And then just secondly, I mean, the ETFs got a ton of press attention in the quarter, and I think that perhaps, maybe underlying Bitcoin spot trading was kind of, I guess, not mentioned as much in the press. Just wondering if you've got a feel kind of where, if perhaps there was like a multiplier effect in the ETFs driving more Bitcoin trading. Obviously, it was other color you'd have there as kind of a guiding metric relative to ETF activity. Thank you.
I can take it if you want. I mean, yeah, look, I think the ETFs got a lot of attention, but what we're seeing is that when there's attention on crypto in general, I think it creates energy and interest across all kinds of products in the industry. So, we mentioned in the opening comments that this excitement around Bitcoin ETFs actually drove new customer adoption across our product suite, and we saw all-time highs in trading volume and active clients, for instance, in our institutional business. So, I think it's a rising tide that lifts all boats.
Your next question comes from the line of Bo Pei with U.S. Tiger Securities. Your line is open.
Hi, management. Thanks for taking my questions and congrats on the strong results. I have 2 questions, if I may. So, what is your view on the recent wealth notice received by Uniswap Lab? Do you think this will potentially impact the U.S. crypto industry and ultimately make crypto less accessible to U.S. users? And second question, also on regulatory front, it seems that the U.S. SEC wants to classify Ether as a security. If Ether is classified as a secured security in the U.S., how does that impact Coinbase trading service and staking business? Does that mean Coinbase had to stop offering trading for Ether and other cryptocurrencies classified as securities? Thank you.
This is Paul Grewal. I'm happy to address each of those questions. On the Uniswap Wells notice, I think it's noteworthy that Uniswap responded publicly, transparently, and made very clear their view that none of the claims that have been suggested or presented to them have any merit whatsoever. I do think that is reflective of an emerging trend, not just in this industry, but more generally, of companies taking their disagreements with the SEC publicly, always in a respectful tone, always in a constructive manner, but sharing with the wider public and certainly the wider market why they believe their products and services are consistent with federal securities laws and why they ultimately will prevail in the action that the SEC may bring. As for the ETH issue that has been presented in the consensus declaratory judgment action that was recently filed, what I think consensus has done in that particular case is, again, in a very transparent, productive, constructive manner, laid bare an issue that has been somewhat confused if you look at SEC statements and the positions of the Commission over the last several years. The SEC has made very clear in the past that ETH is not a security. In fact, not only was that the position of senior officials at the SEC, the current chair of the SEC said that same exact thing prior to his appointment in the years that followed. So we're fully supportive of both Uniswap and consensus in their view. The court process, of course, will have to play out, but we're confident that, as Brian has always emphasized, one way or the other through these court processes, we're going to get clarity for the market and certainly for Coinbase that unfortunately the SEC has not been willing to provide in its own right.
Your next question comes from the line of Mike Colonnese with HCW. Your line is open.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. Thank you for taking my questions and really great quarter here. So my question is around USDC. So the market cap has grown by over 8 billion since the start of the year. What do you consider the primary driver supporting this rebound, and how are you thinking about growth over the coming quarters? And then as a quick follow-up to that, I saw that you mentioned in your shareholder letter that you've seen a step change from legislators in recent months. So I know these things are difficult at time, but when can we reasonably expect to see stablecoin legislation passed in the U.S., and what would be the potential impacts for USDC? Thanks.
Why don't I take the first part, and then Paul, I'll hand it over to you for the second part. So we're really pleased to see the broader USDC growth. As we mentioned, we saw USDC growth on our own platform, where our own on-platform balance nearly doubled in the quarter, and we also saw growth in the overall ecosystem. I think there's been recognition that USDC is a highly trusted, transparent stablecoin by many market participants, and that has been leading to broader adoption, largely through efforts of ourselves and other market participants. So we'll continue to offer incentives. We'll continue to work with the global ecosystem to make it an adopted product. And Paul, maybe you can offer comments on.
Sure, on the legislation. Look, we're pleased and encouraged that Congress is paying attention to this important issue, and there are now a number of proposals for legislation that are working their way through the Congress. While certain proposals I think could and ultimately will be improved, the fact that we're seeing Congress engage, I think, is the important thing. Coinbase has been pushing for sensible legislation as to stablecoins for some time. We think it is an important complement of or to regulation that we've been pushing for before the SEC and elsewhere. So regardless of sort of when any such legislation might pass, it's always difficult to predict how quickly Congress can be able to engage and muster the necessary support in order to move this from mere legislation that's proposed to legislation that's enacted. We're encouraged by the fact that it does seem to be a priority, and we do expect to see legislation ultimately enacted that will enshrine standards for transparency, standards for reserves, and other important requirements around stablecoins that we think will continue to make the U.S. an attractive market.
Your next question comes from the line of John Todaro with Needham & Company. Your line is open.
Great. Thanks for taking my question. Congrats on the quarter. Good results here. I guess I have two here. One, on the $300 million outlook for the April transaction revenue, does that include the other transaction revenue base? And if so, how much is that? And then second, management's talked a lot about managing through the cycle here. You guys spent a lot of time
All right, this question bores me a little bit. I am going to talk to Square just a little bit, Block, right after this, just for a minute. I think after that, guys, I'm probably going to take a break. Tomorrow will be just a regular market recap, no earnings, thank God. So I will get caught up with all requests and charts tomorrow, and then I'll also be doing a session on Sunday. But just wanted to give you guys a heads up. So I'll be doing a little bit here with Square in a second, and then I'm probably out to eat.
I'll leave the predictions to you all investors out there. We just mostly want to focus on building great products and tools and everything like that. But I can share just a few thoughts with you from past cycles and things that we've observed. So the crypto market cap's up about 60% in Q1, and the volatility though is still below 2021 levels. So a couple of things have happened. Obviously, that we had the ETFs in Bitcoin. There's possibility for other ETFs in Ethereum and things like that down the road in the future. We had the Bitcoin halving as well, which kind of reduces the amount of supply being introduced into the market. Every block really that's mined in Bitcoin. And so if you have the same amount of inflows but half as much supply being generated every day, then you can imagine what that does. And so people anticipated that, and people speculate around those. But an interesting way to look at it is kind of in past cycles what happens post halvings. And historically, it's taken about 12 to 18 months for Bitcoin to peak after halvings. So who knows if that will happen again? But it's just an interesting data point. So those are all kind of the things that we think about. And I actually think layer 2 is probably the biggest piece that's coming down the pipe next. We talked about Base, getting those transaction fees under 1 second and 1 cent. It not only is it really interesting for global payments, but it's interesting for lots of different applications that can be built on blockchains. In past cycles, people started building things like DeFi and NFTs. These are things which you might periodically do a transaction, and you're okay paying kind of a higher fee for that, because how often are you going to do a trade or a purchase, and maybe the fee is $5, $10, $25 or whatever. For other types of applications, like if you want to make a decentralized social network and every upvote or like button is happening on chain, or you're in some sort of a game, or something that's more of a daily, hourly, by the minute use case, the costs and confirmation times have to come way down. And that's what we're seeing now with layer 2. So that's really hard to predict exactly what's going to happen, but I think it's pretty exciting.
We have one more question in the queue. It comes from the line of Pete Christensen with Citi. Your line is open.
Good evening. Thanks for the question, and congrats on the great results here. I'm curious. So press reports are indicating potentially that Loomis Gillibrand could hit the floor at some point next week. And part of that bill, as you likely probably know, is the dual banking system debate, and whether or not states can issue their own stable coins independently of the government, the federal government. I'm just curious how you see state-issued stable coins kind of playing in the market. Is that potentially an opportunity for Coinbase? I'm just curious if your thoughts around that dynamic. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to take that one. I think the point that you're raising around the role of state governments, and in particular state chartered institutions in supporting the crypto ecosystem, and in particular stablecoins, is an important one. Whether that ultimately comes to pass in any final legislation that's enacted remains to be seen. But we do think it's very important that states continue to have an important role in supporting stablecoins and supporting crypto more generally. We do think the dual system serves consumer and investor interests reasonably well. And we're hopeful and confident that in any legislation that's finally passed, that will continue to be recognized.
Great. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Well, that does it for today. Thank you all for your questions, and we look forward to talking to you next quarter.
This concludes today's call. You may now disconnect.
Oh, thank God. I can only handle so much of those calls. Hey, I wanted to jump. So real quickly, just in regard to Coinbase, I think it's great that they're doing the Lightning Network now. That's huge. It's such a huge thing for Bitcoin. It's great that they're finding different revenue streams. They're managing themselves, I think, really well. But I wanted to jump topic here because I think the more interesting earnings results and really just shareholder letter is from Square or Block, and what Jack Dorsey is doing with that. They're going to be contributing a portion of their revenue towards Bitcoin conversions. So I want to be clear on this real quick. It says we want to build an ecosystem that features to help people get Bitcoin. 1.6 million Cash App card actives have used our Bitcoin Roundups feature to automatically convert spare change from everyday transactions into Bitcoin. Our paid in Bitcoin feature allows customers to convert a percentage of their direct deposits into Bitcoin with zero fees or price spreads. So Coinbase, Hood, they're fucking you, man. They've either got like wide spreads or high fees. You're paying several percent at least with your purchases, right? Square is letting you do it for fucking free. Free. That seems pretty good. That seems like the mission that Bitcoin was founded off of. And then at the same time, they got BitKey, which is just a great way to be able to store your crypto to where you don't have to worry, about threat of hack, whatever. Like if you want a hardware wallet, this is a pretty good way of doing it. And then they're also trying to make a US-based mining company, hardware and software company, doing 3 nanometer ASIC mining chips. So they're creating their own mining company within this. And that is amazing and desperately needed because we can't have all of our miners coming from China, guys. So they're doing really amazing stuff right now, and I'm incredibly proud of this team for what they're pulling off. And I think it's brilliant. Their numbers look great for the quarter. And again, if you look here on the top, you'll see that they're up 7.75%, a total of almost 13% on the day from this news. So Coinbase was great. Glad they're got the Bitcoin network incorporated into it. They are a $56 billion company, which is pretty big, Coinbase right now. But Square is $43 billion, so it's even smaller. And they've got a pretty good business. And when you line these two up as far as revenues and potential, Square looks pretty great. So again, I'm just loving this. I'm loving PayPal with PYUSD, trying to make it to where, sending money overseas is cheaper. And I love what Square is doing, like the most core vision of Bitcoin ever. And then even companies like Coinbase are incorporating the Lightning Network. This is just all really great for Bitcoin, guys, which is great for humanity. So super stoked with everything that came out today. Great job, Apple. Great job, Square. Great job, Coinbase. Even though you're down 3.5% in after hours, you still went up 9% today. So this is, and it's went up a shit ton over time, guys. So, and you can see, if you look over here on Coinbase, well, you can't see the volume from this one, but essentially, here, I'll drag it up. I got to show it to you. I'll drag it up here. So if you look at Coinbase, you'll see that the volume peak here, at least on the 15-minute candle, was dramatic. And if we look here, even on the hourly, like look at that. Some people, if you had a sell order at 242, you had a good day. And now it's down to 220. So that's, that's a decent uptick. But I do think that it's going to continue to do better. If you look over here in the bottom right, the earnings expectations versus what was accomplished, pretty wild. And you're going to see more of that. You just have to put it in perspective and realize how far this thing is run. If I just do this, like, just look here. So we went from a low of $31 to $285. Count your blessings. I mean, this is a great opportunity, guys. No, there should be no bitching here. The only bitching that could possibly exist is you coming in late. And even then, look at this. This looks like a bull flag. And look, even in after hours being right here, this looks like it wants to break out higher. So I think we got good stuff coming, guys. Jesse, please explain the PYUSD thing in full. It's just like the revenue that comes in for Coinbase in regard to revenues that they make from their stablecoin, right? So Coinbase has USDC. It is a stable coin, and they make money off of that because of the float. And that same kind of thing applies here. And I'm willing to bet, let's see, yeah, stablecoin. You see right here, a portion of their revenue, actually a huge portion of their revenue, it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, how much is it? $197 million in revenue for Coinbase was their stablecoin. Because again, they're earning money on float. So they're earning money, like think of it as bonds, right? Like they're just earning money on float, and they're getting paid for all this money that they have sitting out in their stable coins. PYUSD could be the exact same thing. It'll allow for cheaper, cross-border payments to be made, virtually nothing. Arguably on the Lightning, they would be better. And then at the same time, they can earn money on that float. So it's beneficial for PayPal to have this. Why is it better? I didn't say it was better. Doesn't have to be better. It will be hella cheap. It'll be hella cheap than like a traditional system. Banks, if you're going to like parts of Africa, you might give 10% of the money just to them. Maybe worse, right? In transaction fees. PYUSD could be done for not even pennies on the dollar, like less than a penny on the dollar. So it's going to be much lower fees, right? Much lower fees than what you'd pay to buy and sell stuff on Coinbase or Robinhood. Robinhood, people think that you don't really have much in the way of fees and that it's a way better deal than Coinbase. But if you look at the spread, it's probably pretty fucking close. Robinhood fucks you on the spread, payment for order flow, right? So, and then Coinbase just fucks you right in front of your face. They're just like, here's this huge fee. Thank you. Subscribe to Coinbase One if you want to lower it just a little bit for a little bit of your trading for the month. So, but then there's legitimate solutions like Square, which is really becoming one of my favorites now, where they just use the Lightning Network and they don't charge you any spread or any fees and let you convert your part of your direct deposit into Bitcoin. That's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant, right? So, yeah, it's good stuff. No, guys, I'm a little wasted. So here's the deal. I've been doing this for almost 2.5 hours. I'm probably going to kill the stream here in a second. I'm going to eat. But tomorrow will be a regular market recap. So tomorrow, yes, Dorsey is the GOAT. Just like Elon, Dorsey's a GOAT in his own way, and he's very passionate about Bitcoin, and I love that about him. So, but yeah, so tomorrow will be a regular market recap. So if I missed your stock, I know I missed a bunch of stock stuff today and maybe this last week. Earnings is just tough because I want to make sure that we understand what's happening in major parts of the economy and with stocks that I'm invested in, or that again could impact, other investments. So earnings is tough. I want to participate in that, and I want to make sure we're learning from it. But tomorrow, market recap, straight up. Let's talk about your tickers. I'll roll through my stuff really quick. We'll talk macro, all the normal stuff, and then we'll get into your guys' tickers, and we'll try and roll through the full list. And if we don't get to it tomorrow, again, I'm going to be doing one Sunday. I'll do my recap, basically talking about what happened over the weekend before Monday's markets open, so that you have a game plan heading into them. That's the idea, at least. So anyway, I think we will wrap here in a second, and I'm going to go ahead and just send you out with some music, but you guys take it easy, and I will see you tomorrow.
Deeply opposed to crypto. Last year, cryptocurrency funded every kind of dangerous criminal.
But I would not touch crypto in a million years.
Bitcoin is going to zero.
If I was the government, I'd close it down. People are losing money in scams and huckster, flim-flam artists. These people who own these things should not own your money in any of those. I do think you're an idiot, okay?
It's over.
Go fuck yourself.
What do you do?
Go fuck yourself. Is that fair? I hope it is.
What do you do? What do you do?
Is that clear?
What do you do with the Bitcoin besides it just gather value?
Real estate developers in New York City, they're not buying the real estate because they want to live in it.
But like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. Okay? Right, like, the point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura. Forever.
Right, but I mean, we can all look Bitcoin sort of as
forever, Laura. People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor.